Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Da, 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 ba, ba, ba. Wait, is that WB? Which opening is that? I actually forget. What is that? That's Fox? Isn't isn't Fox? Dun, 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 dun. It's Universal? The first one is Universal. Then why did like 50 people all answer Fox? Thanks. Because we're dumb. Okay. What's up, guys? I'm sorry, focus is off. The autofocus, I had to fix that. Mm-hmm. That looks pretty all right. It looks okay. Change the stream title? No. No, I don't think I will. What's up, everyone? Looking good today? Yeah, I shaved. I'm really tired today. I fell asleep at like 7 a.m. last night. I went to a concert the other day for the first time in like a million years, and it was good. Still a bit blurry. All right. There we go. Um, I love AJJ. Yeah, they were good. They were really good live. I liked them. Did you see the news? Bolsonaro ineligible, can't run for the next 8 years. Okay, I'm gonna really quickly check your posting history because I feel like somebody, I don't know who, but somebody keeps saying this over and over again, even though I've already talked about it. Yep, you said it 2 days ago. That was the last thing you said. And I say I have a bad memory. That was the last thing you said, and it was 2 days ago. And it was pretty much down to the word, too. But I can't really fault you because you only said it twice in 2 days. That's not exactly spamming it. I guess I just have a strong memory of the last time you said it. Well, yeah, I'm aware. Thank you. Invincible Vosh. First poster for Invincible Season 2. Oh, nice. I like how they're making fun of the fact that it's taking absolutely forever to get at. The Invincible graphic novel is really good. I really enjoyed it, and obviously the first season of the animated show was great. Arguably better than the material it adapted from. In fact, not arguably, inarguably better than the material it adapted from. Considering this show is now like 4 years old, I think I can safely say, without fear of spoiling people, um, you know how in the first season of the show, it builds up to Omni-Man being evil the entire time? Has it been that long? I don't know. In the comic that it's adapting from, Omni-Man is revealed to be evil, like, basically from the get-go. Like, basically, it's, oh, he's a hero. Wait, no, he's bad. Then he leaves. All of the drama and build-up and tension, it's not there. It's like, it's the opening, you know? Anyway, they did a really good job with the adaptation. Maybe Bolshevik. Why is Pigeon screaming? Why? Why? Pigeon, you can open the door. Go. 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 I can't fucking believe her. She doesn't push doors open. If the door is 99% open enough that she could easily move through it, she won't until it's all the way open. And I opened it enough that she could easily move through it, and she stood there still for 10 seconds, and then she chirped and turned around. Yeah, I know. Ugh. Hate her. Hate her. Hate her. Hate her. Ugh. There's been a new North Korean defector. U.S. military scrambles to determine fate of soldier who fled to North Korea. Oh, you mean a defector to North Korea? Oh, based. Why can't all the people who annoy me on Twitter do this, man? Hell yeah, man. Go live out your revolutionary dreams or whatever.
This is U.S. Army Private Travis King, and the U.S. military on Wednesday was still scrambling to determine what happened to him after he apparently, without authorization, crossed a heavily guarded border into North Korea the day before.
Someone ran close to me.
What the fuck do you mean heavily guarded? But the border between North and South Korea is not heavily guarded, okay? An airport is heavily guarded. Government buildings are heavily guarded. The North and South Korean border is the DMZ. The DMZ. Not a DMZ. The DMZ.
Very fast. And I thought, what is going on? I didn't think anyone who was sane would want to go to North Korea, so I assumed it was some kind of stunt.
Sarah Leslie was on a civilian tour of the border between North and South Korea with King when he took off.
It all happened pretty quickly. I probably only saw him running for like a few seconds, and that's all it would have taken to get across the border. And then, a couple of seconds after.
Dude, North Korea now has a black person. They're going to be riding this propaganda victory for years, you know? Like, he's going to go on North Korean state TV, and he's going to be like, in America, did you know they're racist against black people? And they're all going to be like, holy shit, that's so evil. And, well, he's right about that one, so it's not even a lie. He's got it made now. Why can't all tankies do this? Yeah. You know how the North Korean state media will just make up insane shit to tell their population about the West? Just get Western tankies to do it, because they'll do it like for free. Like, give them a microphone over in North Korea, and they'll be like that fucking fake North Korean defector who was on Joe Rogan, right? They'll be like, in America, the cops enter your house every day and they beat you to death unless you suck their dicks, but then they'll beat you to death if you suck their dick bad. And and they'll just talk like nonstop like that. And the North Korean host will be like, wow, really? They'll be like Joe Rogan. North Korean Joe Rogan looks exactly the same, by the way. Just Korean Joe Rogan. Wow, really? Or however you say that in Korean. That's crazy. Was it instead of James? Kim, pull up these photos we found of Appalachia in America. Oh man, look at how poor it is there. That's crazy. Can you imagine living like that? Literally same, just a white jack dude who speaks literally just Joe Rogan. It's just Joe Rogan over there. He just has another show in North Korea. We don't know about it, of course, because it doesn't broadcast in the West. Yeah, Kim, pull that shit up.
I saw him. That's when the soldiers shouted and started running after him.
The military said it believes King is in North Korean custody, though Pyongyang state media has made no mention of him. North Korea's mission to the United Nations in New York did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Sources tell Reuters King was based in South Korea and had been accused of assault and damaging a police car.
Oh, dude, he's running from punishment? Are you kidding? He's a U.S. soldier facing discipline for misbehavior? Dude, you know North Korea's worse, right? Like, what's the worst case scenario? A couple of years? Or maybe, like, dishonorable discharge? Why? Why? This reminds me of when I was, like, 9 years old in second grade, and I knew that I was going to have a bad report card mailed back to my parents, so I was thinking about, like, okay, so if I ran away from home, which street should I do, like, begging on so that I can get enough money to eat food and survive, you know? Except he actually did it. Dishonorable discharges are really bad, though. Yeah, well, this is North Korea, so...
He pleaded guilty, had finished serving military detention,
what, he finished?
And had been taken to the airport to return to the United States.
Wait, it was already... What was waiting for him in the U.S.? A firing line?
But then he fled, and soon after ended up on the civilian border tour. He was due to face disciplinary action by the U.S. military, though it was unclear if this was related to his earlier troubles.
Okay, I'm not saying that, like, disciplinary action from the military isn't bad. It is. But, like, really? He might be severely mentally ill. That seems likely. Yeah. This behavior speaks to, like... Yeah. That seems like the most likely explanation. He might not be sane.
The incident occurred amid newly rising tensions. South Korean and U.S. officials held talks Tuesday on upgrading coordination in the event of a nuclear war with North
What in God's... What on earth is that hat?
Talks Tuesday.
What is this? This duck bill of a hat? What kind of beret is this? I've never seen a beret like this. I don't respect this beret. This does not speak to the honorable tradition of berets that I know and respect. It's just at a weird angle. I don't think it's just a weird angle. I think it's a different kind of beret. It's just how the Brits wear them. But he has a U.S. flag on his... This is U.S. Army camo.
On upgrading coordination in the event of a nuclear war with North...
Also, he's clearly American. Look at his face, okay? This is American, I would have agreed, with MacArthur after World War II phrenology right here, okay? This is the physiognomy of a man who thinks that if we had simply bombed Laos more, we could have won in Vietnam.
War with North Korea. While Wednesday, North Korea fired 2 ballistic missiles which ended up in the ocean. A former North Korean diplomat who defected to the South said King may be a propaganda tool for North Korea and a loss of face for the U.S.
North Korea will think the U.S. has lost face because the U.S. soldier voluntarily defected to the North.
Okay, but, like, to be fair, in North Korea, it's not like they need the excuse, right? Like, it's not as though in North Korea, the people who work for the state media were like, oh man, we want to attack America, but we have nothing to say about them, you know? And then the guy crossed there like, you know, something we can, you know.
At a time when the first nuclear consultation group meeting between South Korea and the U.S. was held, and a U.S. nuclear submarine entered the port of Busan today.
King's motivation remains...
Train to Busan is a good movie.
It's unclear. His mother told ABC News she was shocked when she heard about it.
Well, if the guess that this guy is mentally ill is correct, I hope he turns out okay. Like, obviously, this is all really funny, and the guy might be a piece of shit, I don't know. But, you know, I don't want him to spend the rest of his life in, like, North Korean detention. Yeah, God, that poor mom. Yeah, imagine getting a phone call from your mom, and then, like, you hear on the other line, like, hello, this is the U.S. Army, and she, like, seizes up, and she's, like, getting ready for the you know, the drop or whatever, and then they're like, yeah, he defected to North Korea. She's like, what? Yeah, he crossed the border. He's in North Korea now. She's, what fucking what? Yeah, dude just ran, ma'am, just booked it. Just took off. Oh, man. Okay, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know how long I can stream, so I'm going to compensate for it by being very productive and very energetic, okay? Wow, that's a lot of information. I will take a look at this one link. Astronomers have discovered a two-faced star with helium and hydrogen sides. What? Two-faced star with helium and hydrogen sides baffles astronomers? I have no idea how that would work. I don't know what physical process would separate a star into two half-spheres like that, but that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but cool. Big universe. Okay. We got a lot to talk about, folks. Like, a lot. Okay. We've been talking a lot about media critique lately, which is why it's so near and dear to my heart that recently Hassan has been getting roasted over an objectively correct media take, and I wanted to talk about it, all right? Trigger warning, One Piece conversation for people who can't stand insufferable fans of that particular media property. Now, I haven't watched the One Piece anime because I don't care. The manga is fantastic. I'm just going to say right off the bat, some spoilers of the story. However, it's such an expansive story that I genuinely don't think it's going to rob your enjoyment of the media very much. However, One Piece is fantastic. It's excellent. I strongly recommend you read the manga. Right. Okay, let's get started. So this is important. There will be no Wano spoilers. Thank you. All right. A while ago, I think a couple of months ago, Hassan Piker made the argument that Luffy, who is the main character of One Piece, is a terrorist. This got him roasted, like a lot. This tweet has 22.4k likes. I saw one that had about 100k likes attacking him over this. There were articles written about this. It got a lot of attention from anime fans who think that Hassan is a normie who's imposing his political positions. Right, so there are already people in chat who are saying he's correct, and that's because Hassan is correct. But I want to talk about it, okay? So I'm going to talk about this in two ways. First, for those of you who have read or watched One Piece but like listening to me talk, I'm going to explain why Hassan is correct. Or if you haven't read or watched One Piece, just sit here for 5 minutes and let me explain this to you, okay? And two, I'm going to explain why it's politically important that there are so many anime fans who can't stand to see Hassan being right on this one, okay? So, terrorism. Spooky word. Generally applied to people we don't like. One Piece is a story about Luffy, who's a boy who can stretch his arms and do big punches. Trust me, it's a great manga, all right? He's also a pirate. In the world of One Piece, basically everything is water, and what little land there is broken up between a wide range of islands and a long strip of land, and most of that land is controlled by a single one-world government called the World Government. They are the undisputedly most powerful organization on the planet, and Luffy, being a pirate, is not a friend of theirs, and vice versa. Pirates are, of course, basically seafaring brigands, right? I mean, they run around and they rob people and ports. That's what pirates do, typically. That would make you a criminal. Criminals are enemies of the state. That's typically how that works. So what makes Luffy a terrorist? So One Piece is a really political story. And I'm not saying that in the way that I normally say something is political, like, oh, if you read the themes. I mean, there's literally a faction in the story of One Piece called the Revolutionary Army, and the central conflict of the story is about the politics of the world government, the way in which those political decisions have affected the world, the consequences, both social and interpersonal, of those decisions, and what has to be done to stop them, you know? Now, Luffy himself, is he the person on the right or the left of this image? Nobody knows. Luffy himself is an idiot. He has an IQ of 4. This is why he likes the ocean so much. It's because he is about as smart as a fish. Luffy's personal motivations, there are only two of them. One of them is that he wants to find the One Piece. Haha, funny meme. The One Piece is a treasure. We don't know what kind of treasure it is. That's what he wants to find. And two, he wants to fight to protect his friends. He's an anime character, okay? That's his thing. That's what they do. They fight to protect their friends. That's like the main thing that they do. They all do this. It's the main thing they care about, okay? So if you asked Luffy anything political, he would answer by drooling. He's an idiot. That's the point. But everyone around Luffy is aware of what he's doing and what that means. The Revolutionary Army, the lieutenants of which Luffy is direct friends with and has worked with multiple times, consider Luffy to be an asset, and they continuously ally and find shared goals as they travel the world and do wacky anime hijinks together, fighting governments, toppling agents of the world government, fun stuff like that. Luffy explicitly declared war on the world government, has laid siege to multiple government institutions, oftentimes because of the consequences of their political decision-making. He laid siege to, I don't actually know how it's pronounced, Enies Lobby, to save Robin Nico, because she was branded a terrorist by the world government. He raided Impel Down, so that he could save one of his pirate friends and brother from being executed, then broke out and then attacked Marineford, which was like the center of the naval power of the world government, all to do the same. He continuously finds himself in conflict with the world government. He's labeled a pirate, but his actions, even if he doesn't think they are politically motivated. Or to put it another way, Luffy isn't smart enough to understand that what he's doing is politically motivated, but everyone else does. The world government knows. Certainly, the Revolutionary Army knows. Even people like Nico Robin know, who's on his team. She's part of his crew. I think the most explicit example of this, especially since terrorists are typically referred to as people who go after civilian targets, not always the case, but they often are, it is related to his engagement with a figure known as a celestial dragon. So in the world of One Piece, here, let me see if I can find a picture of these guys, because I feel like the mangaka Oda tells you everything that you need to know about them just by the way he draws them. Let me see if I can. Here we go. So the subtle art of character design informing the perspective we're meant to have on this individual. Celestial dragons are essentially the aristocracy. They're the descendants of original royalty, and they're treated as demigods on Earth. If you say a bad word to them, they can shoot or kill you. They can enslave whoever they want. They can do whatever they want. That's the whole thing. They're not treated positively by the show or the manga's narrative, obviously. They are not good people. That's pretty consistently reaffirmed. That's not really subtle or ambiguous. They're also civilians. See, again, even though I don't think it's necessarily an important distinction when it comes to labeling somebody a terrorist is just a non-state actor who, engages in conflict for political means. The Celestial Dragons are civilians. They're not military personnel. They're not militarily trained. They're just people. People treated like demigods and aristocrats, but people. And Luffy and his gang, in addition to constantly attacking military targets of the world government, also attack a celestial dragon, specifically because the celestial dragon was engaging in the practice of slavery. Now, I hope people in my audience wouldn't need to have this, reaffirmed to them, or would need to have this reminded. But sad as it may be, opposition to slavery is a political stance. This is the pattern that Luffy keeps falling into. He does something for personal reasons. I want to save my friend. I think this is wrong. I think so-and-so. And his motivations are personal, but the thing that's motivating his personal beliefs or biases, they're political. He may personally think that slavery is wrong, and what a great perspective for Luffy to have, by the way. I love that for him. But that is a political position, and what's more, in the world of One Piece, that is a contentious political position, because the leaders of the world are allowed to have slaves. So, Luffy is unambiguously a terrorist. The only argument that I see people throw against him is that Luffy himself wouldn't consider him one. But I have one more counter-argument, and that's that the story of One Piece acknowledges in one other specific way that what Luffy considers himself to be and what he actually is are not the same thing. Because Luffy doesn't want to be considered a hero. Luffy is a shonen anime protagonist. Where he goes, conflict follows, and he's a good person. He constantly brings about good outcomes. He topples tyrants, he brings freedom fighters to the front, he defends people who need defending. He's a hero. Unambiguously, he's a hero. 100% he's a hero. But he doesn't like being thought of as one because he thinks it's corny. That's actually his in-universe reason. If he just saves a kingdom from destruction, he doesn't want to stick around and be like the hero of the world. He wants to dip after eating a bunch of food. He does this 8 times. Consistently, he thinks it's corny to be celebrated as a hero. He just wants to leave and be thought of as a pirate. But he's still a hero. Obviously. Yeah, he does it for the free food. But obviously, Luffy is motivated by a desire to bring about good outcomes. Every single island he arrives at, he does the right thing time and time again, toppling and defeating bad people, helping good people. He does this constantly. He's clearly motivated by an ethical center, but he doesn't like being thought of as a hero. So the fact that he is a hero, but wouldn't acknowledge himself as one, is an indication that, I think you could fairly say, well, okay, what about a terrorist? He wouldn't consider himself a terrorist, I'm sure. He wouldn't consider himself a warlord either, even though he objectively is one at the point in the story that we're currently caught up to. There are lots of things that Luffy doesn't know or doesn't think. It's one of his main character traits. So that's not really a good metric for determining whether or not he is or isn't something. So that's my summary. Hassan is objectively correct in his argument that Luffy is a terrorist. So why does this matter? Well, if we go back to here, the person who's criticizing Hassan here says, bro talking like he work for the world government. Essentially, the implication of this tweet is that you could only label Luffy a terrorist if you were the one who was fighting against Luffy. Or, in other words, that terrorist is a purely oppositional term. And this has huge political ramifications. See, there are tons of real-world examples where the American government has either defended or promoted or funded or armed terrorism, and arguments that we could make where terrorists would be in the objectively morally correct side. Vicky France, for example, Nazi-occupied France. There were insurgents working for the resistance who did lots of wacky stuff to the Nazis that were occupying France. Oh, and not just to the soldiers, by the way. Is it pronounced differently? Vichy? Is it Vichy? It's a French word. Vichy? 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 Seriously? I don't respect the French. I don't respect the French. I'm sorry. I've only seen it written in text. Really? Oh, I don't respect the French. Not even a little bit. Wow. Wow, that's bad. Yeah. All right. Well, horrible language aside, there were obviously resistance fighters in France. Now, what did these resistance fighters do to the Nazis occupying their country? I'm gonna spoil history for you. They killed a lot of Nazis. And not just soldiers. See, the occupational force in France from the Nazis was not entirely composed of soldiers. The Nazi government in Germany was mostly not soldiers. Bureaucrats and politicians, accountants, leaders, propaganda ministers. These people weren't all trained soldiers. They were political leaders, civilians. You'll never guess what happened to a lot of them in occupied France. They were terrorists. Unquestionably, they were terrorists. And the collaborators, too. French collaborators who worked with the Nazis for their shared occupation. What do you think happened to them? But what do we say when we talk about the resistance fighters in France? We say resistance fighters. We say freedom fighters. They were terrorists. Objectively, they were terrorists. They killed and they destroyed property and they attacked and they wounded and they maimed and they terrorized for political reasons, and not just soldiers, civilians too. But we don't call them terrorists because we use that term for the bad ones, for the evil ones, for the nasty ones. Now, this is a highly Western-centric notion of morality. This is the reason why, for example, we'll support the Mujahideen as freedom fighters, but we'll argue, like the Viet Cong or this group or that group or the other, aren't. The Mujahideen resisting Soviet occupation are freedom fighters. However, Al-Qaeda resisting Western occupation, terrorists. They're both terrorists. They're both terrorist groups. Both state-sponsored terrorist groups. U.S., the Saudis, it gets complicated. The idea that terrorism is like the dirty word that refers to the bad people is a extremely, morally biased perspective that often reaffirms really racist ideas of who has, a just claim to their land. So I'm going to make a controversial case here, all right? I think Al-Qaeda is bad. I think the Taliban are bad as well. I don't think they're good. I think they're bad. I don't like them. don't like religious fundamentalism, be it Christian, Islamic, or whatever else. Don't particularly like rampant social conservatism, beheading, apostate. There's a lot of stuff I don't like about them. However, I will say this much. There is exactly one legitimate claim that Al-Qaeda and the Taliban can make with regards to their actions and their political motivations. Opposing Western colonial influence in the Middle East, if we were Middle Eastern, would be a freedom fighter move. For all the bad stuff they do, the central argument underpinning basically everything Al-Qaeda did, from the organization broadly to Osama bin Laden's motivations to the tape that he released after 9/11, where he explicitly blamed Western interference in Middle Eastern affairs, the idea that it would be just to lead a terrorist organization if it meant rebelling against the level of influence the West has in the Middle East, we would consider that just under any other circumstances. And we did, because we defended the Mujahideen, who were also fighting out of disgust and resistance towards Soviet occupation in Afghanistan. The Mujahideen and Al-Qaeda weren't exactly the same group, but there was a big overlap, and the underlying motivations for the Mujahideen doing what they did are pretty similar to why Al-Qaeda did what they did. That doesn't mean all the stuff they did was good. The Mujahideen did a lot of fucked up stuff. Al-Qaeda did even more fucked up stuff. But on a fundamental level, don't you guys think if the shoe was on the other foot and Al-Qaeda was resisting, say, the Soviets or some other group, we'd call them freedom fighters, wouldn't we? We would. If Al-Qaeda was doing what the Mujahideen did, we would call them freedom fighters. 100% we would. Yeah. We would say, oh, sure, they have some backwards religious beliefs, but, they're fighting against the Soviets, they're fighting against Iran, they're fighting against... we would defend them. We did what we did with the Mujahideen. And some people do defend Al-Qaeda. Of course, there's a wide range of perspectives here. Look, I just think it's important because the idea that terrorism equals bad, but freedom fighter equals good is a media-imposed false dichotomy that restricts people's ability to understand and contextualize the reasons why people might engage in terroristic violence. If we can argue that fighting against Nazi collaborators and Nazis in occupied France, even if that involves killing civilians, because again, Nazi officials were civilians many, many times, if we can make an argument for that morally, then we can make a moral argument for things that other groups would call terrorism. And you'll never guess what the Nazis called the resistance fighters in France, by the way. They didn't call them resistance fighters or freedom fighters. It's just, I don't like the degree of moral relativism that gets imposed on this particular dynamic, because it makes people really, really, really unsympathetic towards the ways in which these kinds of violence happen. You know what I mean? The IRA in Ireland. Hell, Hassan's take on 9/11. The idea that 9/11 happened because of nonstop, irresponsible Western meddling in Middle Eastern affairs is objectively correct. That is literally cause and effect, and Osama bin Laden said so. That's not like an ambiguous... that's not like throwing a guess out there. That's not a crazy lefty take. Osama bin Laden sat in front of a camera and explained why he was mad at the U.S. It's not... Osama bin Laden was a religious fundamentalist and a Saudi fail son, He's essentially like the Middle Eastern equivalent of radicalized tanky leftists who are from upper middle class families in the burbs and take to Twitter, get hyper ultra radicalized, and then fantasize about defecting to North Korea. Osama bin Laden lived that dream. He was a lunatic. But the argument that he did what he did because of Western colonialism, that's certainly true. Oh, yeah, that's true. Osama bin Laden was insanely rich, of course. The bin Laden construction group is the wealthiest, is one of the wealthiest groups in the Middle East. They're behind basically every major construction project. Osama was a tanky. Swap a couple things around, and sure, yeah, why not? I feel like bin Laden was lying, though. No, he wasn't. That's the thing. That's the Western bias there. Was a lot of what bin Laden did motivated by religious fundamentalism? Absolutely. However, think of all of the young boys who are recruited to Al-Qaeda, to the Taliban, to ISIS. Do you think all of that is just they happened to be Islamic fundamentalists? No. It's because they were wounded by the indignity of constant Western occupation, of their families being killed by drone strikes, of knowing their countries were impoverished due to what we had done. If you go look at ISIS recruitment sites that are archived, or any of the arguments they made to bring people into their organization, sure, they made a lot of arguments about Islam and glory and so on and so forth. But what underlying anxieties, what underlying anger do they tap into? It's not just religious. A lot of it is composed of, let's be clear here, selectively correct arguments about nonstop Western occupation, destroying their countries, impoverishing their people, killing their families, and ruining their lives. And we have done that. In many cases, we have done that, certainly. We have done lots of meddling in the Middle East. And to those young boys, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, ISIS, are freedom fighters. Now, I don't like the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, or ISIS. I do like Luffy. I don't think the Mujahideen was great. I do like the resistance fighters in France, though. You have to look into their motivations more thoroughly than just, does Western media refer to them as a terrorist or a freedom fighter? You understand. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And there are people all over the place that are repeating the same basic argument. Bro talking like he worked for the world government. Luffy is a terrorist. And here it's like, you have to be a member of the world government to say that. It's, yeah. Hassan is a celestial dragon confirmed. See, the implicit understanding here is that terrorist equals bad. Therefore, the only possible way that you could think Luffy is a terrorist is if you belong to the world government. Almost the entire population of the world of One Piece belongs to the world government. Do you understand the parallel here? Oh, well, they're deluded. Luffy's not a terrorist. The only way they could believe that is if they existed in a government and a media landscape that falsely portrayed him as a terrorist because they misrepresent his actions and fail to reveal the broader context of why he does the oh. Right? Get it? Right. I'm telling you, man, the threads that were attacking Hassan over this had over 100K likes. This is a widely held position. People don't like political media analysis in their stories. They just don't. But it's important to. And especially for something like One Piece, man. Some of Luffy's closest allies in One Piece are members of the Revolutionary Army. For those of you who are still looking for a reason to read One Piece, by the way, one of the captains of the Revolutionary Army is, no shit, a giant-headed drag queen who has the magical ability to change people's genders or alter their hormones at will. This is not downplayed. Every single environment that this character finds themselves in turns into like a gender-bending drag show in no time. It's extremely gay. Seriously? Yeah, seriously. That's not even remote exaggeration. Hypers in chat if I'm not even remotely exaggerating. They use their powers by doing a big cunty wink with their eyelashes. Post image, sure. One Piece. I'm forgetting their name right now. Revolutionary Army hormone fruit. Horo no Mi. Thank you. Ivankov. That's right. There we go. Here we have Ivankov standing over a bunch of men in fishnets and panties performing a show, if I remember correctly, in the inside of a prison. Yes, it's Rocky Picture Horror Show, yes. It is known. Why do they look like a potato? It's a very wacky manga. It's a wacky manga. Don't worry about it, okay? Anime fans have such low standards. No. One Piece is legitimately excellent. I kind of chafe at the fact that One Piece was introduced to me originally as just another really popular shonen story, because I have seen Naruto and I have read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z isn't even mid, and Naruto is at its best pretty good. One Piece is excellent. I haven't read or watched Bleach, or a couple other like of the big shonen properties, but like One Piece is like incomparably better than Naruto at the very least. Like it's not even close. Bleach manga is great. I'll read it someday. I have a gif of the moment that Ivankov transed a Twitter guard. Oh, here we go. Jesus Christ, I haven't seen this in the anime. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. There you go, guys. Wow, they really played that up in the anime bit, didn't they? Does anyone else feel like she looks like that one lady from JoJo Part 4 right here? I forget her name. The one with kind of the glassy stare and the really textured hair. Yeah, she does. Yeah, okay. Not just me then. Yukako? Yukako JoJo. Yeah. Maybe not so much because of like JoJo's art style, but I feel like if you translated the art style from JoJo into One Piece a little bit. Well, this is from the manga, not from the anime, so maybe it'd be easier if I looked at an anime example. I don't know. She's crazy. Watch out for the crazy girls. Yeah, okay. One Piece, good story. Terrorists are complicated term. Yeah, okay, good. Right, nice. Great, excellent. Good job, team. Ivankov and estrogen. Sorry, that link doesn't work. The artist barely disguised fetish be like, well, I will say this much, okay? In terms of gender politics, One Piece has come a really long way. The first exposure to like gender incongruence in One Piece was basically just people being like gay stereotypes, and one of the characters, Sanji, being menaced by being followed by a bunch of cross-dressing men with like stubble and big like kissy lips, you know? And then it moved on to here's a character who's unambiguously morally good and can transgender you with a stare. And then in the most recent arc, there were multiple trans characters who were just completely respectfully depicted. I can never remember characters' names because there are 5 million characters in One Piece. Wano, trans woman. There we go. She's nice. Oh, Kiku? Yeah, she's nice. Also, she's like 9 feet tall, if that means anything to you guys. Can I find a shot of her standing next to somebody else? No, Kiku Nojo. Is this not just a woman? No, they explicitly say she's trans. There's a flashback to a previous point in time where you see a character named something different but wearing similar gear, who is a feminine guy and referred to as a guy. And then when they flash forward, I think Luffy was like, "Wait, you were a guy?" And then she says something like, "This one's heart is a woman's," or something, and then it's never addressed again. It's about as respectful a depiction as I've ever seen of trans identity in anime. He didn't get it? Luffy doesn't know what trans people are. Come on. He doesn't have a brain. Don't be ridiculous. Oh, here we go, yeah. Here's Luffy not having a brain in front of the 8-foot-tall samurai woman. There we go. See, I'm just trying to motivate you guys to read One Piece. It's very good. Yeah, 5'11" versus 6 feet tall. This is actually the average experience of a guy who goes on Grindr to find a trans woman to hook up with. They're like, oh yeah, I like tall girls. Then they meet up at her place. I kind of got burned out in OP after watching 300 episodes. Don't watch the show. Read the manga. The show will literally take up like months of your life, even if you have tons of time to dedicate to it. The manga is really, really, really good. Or just don't read it? Yeah, I guess. Okay, that's it. We're moving on. Ideal T for T shit right there. Oh, yes, of course. The transmass transfemme experience right here. What is T for T? T for T is when trans people are looking to date other trans people. Voshma, 5-foot trans girl, when do I get represented? Royal Rose, you are the envy of literally millions of trans women, okay? You don't need representation. What you need is a fan club. All right, we need to move on. This took too long. Okay, let's clear the short link first. All right, so I'm going to introduce some wacky information for you people who are not American. First of all, stop it. Second of all, did you know that over here in America, there is a racist relationship between black people and pools? Curious. What a clickbait notion. Here, take a look at this news video. For a lot of you this is obvious, but for a lot of you that's not obvious at all. That's why I said it. Because if you're American, it's like, oh yeah, of course. But if you're not American, right, okay. Here. So, in a period of record global temperatures and rampant heat waves, some enterprising young kids decided to break into a Baltimore City pool that had remained closed for some time. By break in, I assume they just climbed a fence. They have now entered the most cultured pool in America, full of vitamins and minerals. I hope they didn't open their mouths at any point while in the pool. And their little escapade was filmed from a helicopter. You can see them looking at the helicopter. That is because becoming North Korean expat on Joe Rogan, in America, during 500-degree weather, they will close the pools. And then they'll close them because they don't have money to keep them open. And then when you go to the pool, they'll send 5 attack helicopters to film you, to publicly shame you on media. No, it's just some kids going into the water. Like there's nothing here. The only negative thing that happened here really is whatever this horrible polluted water is doing to their skin. But the news helicopter saw fit to record this because this is a big breaking story. This is big news. So what's going on here, right? Please explain the black people pool thing. Why? I would be happy to. So in the United States, which is a large country, it is a big country, not everyone has the pleasure of living in Santa Monica or on the coast of Florida. That is, not everyone gets to see the ocean every day. For many Americans, for the vast majority of Americans, if you learn to swim, it was in a pool. That's actually where I learned to swim. See, over in Los Angeles, where you have to be a multimillionaire to afford a house that has a pool in it, I didn't have a pool. In Florida, lots of people have pools because of a lot of stuff. It's great. The weather's good for swimming in Florida, mostly because hurricane season's nonstop now, so you can swim by walking around in the air. My grandparents' neighbor had a pool, and we would go and learn to swim there, and I learned how to swim, and I can swim pretty well now. Many Americans can swim pretty well. but there's a racial disparity there. And the reason for it is as such. Back during the civil rights movement, one of the big points of contention when it came to racial integration was public pools. See, the American South is hot, very hot. And during the summer, especially if you don't have a modern AC unit, and again, this was back in the 1960s, people would go to the pool in order to cool down. They didn't let black people into the pools, at least not into the good ones. Sometimes there were neighborhood pools that were kept for black people, but they were often underfunded, kept closed, in poor condition, too small, and so on. So a big point of contention during the civil rights movement was pool integration. Black people would go to white pools and go on in there. This would make the white people steaming mad. Ooh, they didn't like it. People got into lots of fights about this. Now, the civil rights movement is over. Oh, yeah, thank you, Viathan, for this excellent anecdote. The 1964 Monson Motor Lodge protests, where they poured acid into the pools to keep black people from using them. Right there, you can see it. See that white container right there? People got hurt in these conflicts. This was a thing. This happened all over the country. This was not like a single incident. This was a big thing. In much of the American South, communal pools are one of the largest and most trafficked communal spaces. So they were a big point of contention. The civil rights movement is over now. And as we all know, it solved all racism in America. Unfortunately, despite having solved all racism, for some reason, city budgets just don't seem to have room for keeping open and maintaining public pools in black neighborhoods. Baltimore is a city with a severe racial divide. That is, of course, where this little helicopter escapade is happening. All over America, this is a common trend. Oh, of course, the pools aren't segregated, but for some reason, the neighborhoods where it's mostly black people just don't keep their pools open. This is where the racist stereotype of black people can't swim came from, because they weren't let into the communal pools, and nowadays, their communal pools are shut down. That's where it came from, in case you've ever wondered. Now, it's half a stereotype, half true. Black people can't swim on average as well as white people, because that's what happens when you close communal pools in black neighborhoods, obviously. That's where a lot of young people learn how to swim. I learned how to swim in a private pool from the neighbor of my folks, or my grandparents, but that was because my grandparents had enough wealth. My grandfather was a commander in the Navy, and he lived in a neighborhood befitting of that, that there was enough money for me to enjoy the benefits of a private pool. This may shock you to learn, but many black people live in poor neighborhoods, so that's not always an option to them either. With no private pools to go to, or at least fewer private pools, and communal pools that are shut down, we arrive at a world, a country, where black people have a stereotype associated with them, one in which they can't swim. And what we're looking at right now is just a tiny microcosm of that broader tendency. This is just one, and these kids aren't even all black or whatever, but it's presumably an underfunded neighborhood. I mean, it's in Baltimore. Most of the neighborhoods there feel like they're underfunded. I've been to Baltimore. Trust me, I know. Also, he's bringing his Razor scooter into the pool. Whatever makes him happy. I don't care. These heat waves are cripplingly severe. And the least that the city could do in an environment like this is look at how big this pool is. This is like an Olympic pool. Look at that. Look at this. You could fit hundreds of people in here. This land is just going to waste. There are pools like this all over America. But they can't find the money to keep it open, keep like a couple workers and a lifeguard or two there, you know? It's huge. And by the way, again, this is in Baltimore. Baltimore is not known for being a super hot area. Baltimore is in Maryland, you know? Not to say it doesn't get hot there. It does, especially now. But this isn't the South, you know? Imagine what it's like in the South. I hope these kids had a good time before they got shooed off. Maryland's kind of the South in summer. It's South-ish. It's South adjacent. I'm just saying that there are places where it's a lot warmer. Why is this a helicopter follow them level story? Slow news day. Here's an article. Give me a moment. Public pools used to be everywhere in America. Then racism shut them down. Near the beginning of the century, public pools could be found in many urban areas across the country. But that all changed as cities moved to desegregate those swimming areas. In her book, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together, Heather McGhee looks at how many cities closed their pools rather than commit to desegregation, and how the same political mindset shaped the policy making for decades to come. It's a perfect example of how racism hurts everyone. Racist families and racist policymakers would rather tear apart fundamental community infrastructure that benefits literally everybody than allow black people to enjoy it. What's that old saying? You can get a lot out of a white man if you convince him that he's better than the richest black man. Chopping off their nose to spite their face? Yeah. I'll just read the paragraph and then we'll be done. Built in 1919, the Fairground Park Pool in St. Louis, Missouri was the largest in the country and probably the world. With a sandy beach, guys, a sandy beach at a pool in 1919. America had a lot of really nice public pools. Oh yes, that's the quote. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. Yep, 100%. White Americans are the biggest suckers in the world because they will take any abuse as long as they're told that twice the abuse will come to their local black folk. And a reported capacity of, guys, this is at one pool, 10,000 swimmers. 10,000 swimmers. Now, that's reported capacity. So, you know. Oh, there are photos of it. Wow, here we go, yeah. Fairground Park Pool. Why are all the photos of this pool clearly from like 50 years ago or more? Also, wow, that's huge. When a new city administration changed the parks policy in 1949 to allow black swimmers, the first integrated swim ended in bloodshed. On June 21st, 200 white residents surrounded the pool with bats, clubs, bricks, and knives to menace the first 30 or so black swimmers. Over the course of the day, a white mob that grew to 5,000 attacked every black person in sight. Guys, your grandparents were alive when this happened. Around the Fairground Park. After the Fairground Park riot, as it was known, the city returned to a segregation policy using public safety as a justification. But a successful NAACP lawsuit reopened the pool to all St. Louisans the following summer. On the first day of integrated swimming, July 19th, 1950, only 7 white swimmers attended, joining 3 brave black swimmers under the shouts of 200 white protesters. That first integrated summer, Fairground logged just 10,000 swims, down from 313,000 the previous summer. The city closed the pool for good 6 years later. Racial hatred led to St. Louis draining one of the most prized public pools in the world. It was like this all over America. Anyway, just keep that in mind when you see stuff like this. This isn't just like idle news bait on a slow news day. It's more than that. It's a continuation of, knowingly or unknowingly, a long line of meaningful problems. Bosh, people don't swim in rivers in the U.S.? Well, sure, if they're around and if the river is viable for swimming, but not every one of the 330 million people in America is near a river they can swim in. Yeah, also, rivers are not always safe to swim in. It's some variance there. What is this? Leftists don't understand slavery, refuting BreadTube on the 1619 Project. And it is a 36-minute video that opens with what looks like a superimposed animation of the Proud Family reboot, where they do that preachy explanation of how black people built this country. I don't care. One of these sections is called reparations, and it seems that there's a section dedicated to a luxury car that's been restored, so I'm going to guess this video is extremely racist. I think I just saw a Wojak. Yep, there we go. Yeah, the video is extremely racist, and they're wrong. It's easy content. It's 36 minutes, and we've got lots to do. We're not lacking for content today. Russia bombed a Ukrainian port and infrastructure after the grain deal fell through. Are they really not going to like renegotiate this with Erdogan? I mean, maybe they are, and they're just trying to strongman. But like, this is so weird because like Russia does not politically benefit from this grain deal strong arming that they're doing. Okay, most of the countries that benefit most from Ukraine exporting their grain are ones that Russia and China are looking to appeal to. Like, obviously, grain prices would rise in the West, but we're wealthy. There are countries where the grain from Ukraine means the difference between life and starvation, and those countries are not going to think favorably of Russia bombing grain silos. Like, it's like they're shooting themselves in the foot. America doesn't care as much if, like, you know, impoverished African nations starve. Americans love it when that happens. But Russia is, and more so China, but China and Russia are aligned on some of these issues, are trying to make themselves out to be like the defender of the developing world. That's the point. They want those countries to beg for immediate peace talks. Zelensky is not going to cede the Donbass because poor countries aren't getting grain because Russia bombed it. It's just spite. It's spite. It's literally just spite. They destroyed 60,000 tons of grain. That's not a huge amount. I know it sounds like a lot. It's not a huge amount relative to the amount that Ukraine produces, but it's still a pretty big blow. Spiteful and desperation. Yeah. Food scarcity researchers estimate the collapse of the grain deal won't severely impact poor countries because alternative routes of supply were established after the last shortage. That's good to know. That's good to know. Still, this doesn't really benefit Russia outside of, like, spite. Excuse me. Putin also decided to not attend the BRICS summit off the back of this. Wait, did he not? Oh, man, really? Oh, dude. So much for BRICS supplanting the West. Oh, Christ. That looks bad. Oh, yeah, man. Russia is totally uniting the world against Western imperialism. Can't even show up at their own shitty, fucking half-baked...
Welcome back. South Africa's leader says Russian President Vladimir...
What is BRICS? BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. It's supposed to be like a trade bloc to defeat the West or whatever. It's never going to, but like still, you know?
Vladimir Putin will not be attending the BRICS summit in Johannesburg next month, ending months of speculation. Both sides apparently agreed to the decision. Mr. Putin's potential visit has been a tricky diplomatic issue for South Africa. The Russian president is the target of an international criminal court arrest warrant for alleged war crimes in Ukraine. Pretoria has faced criticism from Western diplomats for its perceived solidarity with Moscow. South African leaders would have faced heavy pressure to arrest Mr. Putin had he set foot in Johannesburg at the BRICS summit. CNN's...
It's so fucking pathetic, dude. Well, that's what you get for having international criminal court warrants out for your arrest, I suppose. Nobody stands with Russia on this. You guys know that, right? Like, not even countries like India and China really do. China considers Russia to be a liability and an embarrassment. India and China are like, you know, they don't want Russia to completely collapse because they're kind of trying to do their own thing here. But this is not, like, the list of countries that fully support Russia is like, what is it? Like Syria, Belarus, North Korea? It's like nobody. Nobody does. There are countries that will tentatively refrain from condemning Russia because it's in their economic interest to not do so, but that's about it.
David McKenzie joins us now from Johannesburg with more. Look, there's been so much talk around this. Frankly, whoever I spoke to were always wondering, you know, whether Putin is actually going to arrive. He's now out of BRICS. So tell me how this transpired today, David.
All right, I think we get the gist. Pretty funny, though. India and China are actively hostile towards each other. Yeah, it's almost like trying to form an economic and political bloc based purely around being not Western is actually a really bad idea, because historically China has competed not with Western forces, but with their neighbors for resources, the way most countries do, and that it actually takes an enormous amount of regional stability to build a local trade bloc against, like, foreign opposition on the other side of the world without exacerbating or painting over issues you already have with your neighbors. It would be like trying to do the European Union back in like 1926 or something, you know? Like, you can't do that. You're not in line yet. I mean, it took a world war to unify Europe. Well, to be fair, there was a world war in Southeast Asia. It just didn't work out the way the one in Europe did, you know? Turkish lira is collapsing. Good. I hate Turkey. All my homies hate Turkey. Weakened more than 2% to a fresh record low. What's the exchange rate? 26.9 against U.S. currency, sliding from Monday's close of 26.3. It has weakened 30% so far this year? We're in July, and it's weakened 30... Oh. Ooh. Erdogan refuses to raise interest rates. Well, Erdogan, like many fascists, is a tool for corporate power, right? So presumably he's more concerned with like investment and corporate power than he is with like people fucking dying. Keep in mind that if you're ultra wealthy and you're Turkish, your money is not kept in lira, you know? If you're ultra wealthy and Turkish, you keep your money in US dollars or in something that can be exchanged for it. You're not going to tie your wealth to a national currency that's plummeting, or euro. Yeah, but you know, U.S. is the international exchange of yeah, the U.S. reserve currency. Euros are also very stable relative to lira, certainly. Yeah. What do you think about Turkey versus Turkey, given the bird was named after the country? I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, it's pronounced the same, isn't it? I think that Turk-I-Y-E looks cooler, but I don't know. Also, remember that BRICS was a neoliberal idea, not an anti-imperialist one? Yeah, but people impose all these narratives on it, including members of BRICS, to be fair, you know. But BRICS was never actually like a threat to the West. It's Turkey for the new pronunciation. Turkey. No, it's not. Turkey? Turkey! Turk Woo. All right, folks. Did you know that while we argue pronunciation, real proletarian things are taking place? SAG, or the Screen Actors Guild, released all of the deal points and the AMPTP's response. So, as you know, there's a Hollywood Writer and Screen Actors Guild strike taking place right now. A lot of stuff has happened in that set of engagements and disagreements. One of the most petty and vindictive and horrible ones that I've seen for how like petty it was is that an area that, as I understand it, was probably going to be walked across for the striking or the protesters. The studio, the Universal Studios, illegally trimmed all of their gorgeous trees, like hacked them down to the bone, so that the striking workers would have no shade to protest in. And this has apparently attracted the attention of the LA City Controller because these trees are city property, not Universal Studios property. So they just like sent someone out there in the dead of night to hack them down so that during a heat wave they can burn rather than strike in the shade. Tree law. Yeah, hopefully. Can you explain why tree law is a meme? Trees are very expensive when damaged because they represent potentially decades or even centuries of growth, and the financial restitution for that growth can be monstrous. Respect your trees. I don't know if that's necessarily applicable here, but look, LA has bad enough tree cover as it is, man. This is really bad. They basically destroyed like public property and made the sidewalk even less appealing and walkable than it was before, purely to fuck over striking workers, as I understand it. The LA City Controller is still doing their investigation, though I don't know who would do these illegal cuts other than Universal Studios. I don't know why some like third-party bandit will like run in there and do the job for them. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, look at this. Words. Well, I think some of these words are interesting. So on the left side, we have the SAG-AFTRA proposals. That means these are the things that they are suggesting be done. And on the right, we have the AMPTP counters. That is what the corpos are saying they're willing to do. So this is a little bit technical, but I think it's important to understand the nitty-gritty of what strike negotiations actually look like. We don't always get a release of all the details, and I really like that we are getting it here, you know? So we're going to take a sec. Under the section Economics, Inflation, and Wage Invasion, minimums. 11% general wage increase in year 1, 4% in year 2, and 4% in year 3. The response from corpos, 5% in year 1, 4% in year 2, 3.5% in year 3. Very expertly negotiating the third year from 4% to 3.5% to really save those extra cents. It's worth noting, by the way, that given the burst of inflation that we had the prior year, asking for an 11% general wage increase is not even really a general wage increase. New media revenue sharing. Cash share in the revenue generated when their performances are exhibited on streaming platforms. Rejected. So that right there is like number one. One of the main concerns is, hey, why did we get residuals from TV broadcasts, But from streaming broadcasts, we don't get anything at all. No residuals. We don't get any ongoing money for the popularity of a project. We get nothing. Rejected. Wage invasion due to advance payment of residuals. Limit the amount of a performer's salary that can be reduced due to the advance payment of residuals. It's a more technical thing. Increase the protective threshold figures in the contract and match terms agreed to by Netflix in 2019, but refuse the union's request for transparency with a separate residual check. So the corpos are essentially saying, we will not be transparent by making it clear what money is coming from residuals and what money is coming from other recompense. Anti-transparency on where your money is coming from, basically. Per diem, adjust for inflation the money that members receive to pay for meals and incidentals when traveling for work. Not increased since 2001. 22 years since it was last adjusted how much you get for meals and incidentals. Increase the amount due by far less than inflation. Ignore the issue of actually making the payment on time. Oh, it should be clear, the counters here are being written out by the union. So I want to say, to make it perfectly clear, I trust what the union says. I will not trust what the corporations say. I trust what the union says. If the union says they rejected this or ignored the issue, I trust them. If the corpos come out and provide evidence that they were lying about one of these counter proposals, then we can look at that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I will trust unions over corpos' perspectives any day without strong evidence. Schedule breaks. The parties have tentatively agreed to conform to the minimum payments that performers must receive before their employers can invoke the various schedules under which members lose entitlement to additional payments such as weekly overtime. Yeah, that seems good. Schedule F. Increase the minimum payments for performers working Schedule F, which was intended for star performers who have more negotiating power, but since the rates have not increased in decades, it now sometimes results in those performers earning less than Schedule C, which guarantees a minimum weekly rate and additional payments like weekly overtime. Proposed small increases that do not solve the problem. Rejected the portion relating to ensuring a minimum weekly rate for performers working Schedule F. So basically what this means is Schedule F used to be for the big stars who can negotiate their own contracts. But now, since the underlying numbers are much lower because they haven't been adjusted in a long time, they're basically like taking up people who have no negotiating power under Schedule F terms. So like, hey there, random background extra, we'll have you under the payment schedule that relies on you being able to negotiate your salary rather than one that has a guaranteed minimum weekly rate. Look at you, little star. You get to be in the background in 3 seconds of one episode. Here, explain to me why you deserve less than minimum wage. Clarify the calculation of vocal contractor payments. Okay, so this is stuff for singers specifically. They reject the proposal to increase transparency and accuracy in reporting of singers' work. Whittled down version of the vocal contractor portion. Okay, so they're in that. Oh, look at this dancer section with the 2 rejected. Number 1, dancers should receive additional compensation when they are asked to sing or lip sync in addition to dancing on rehearsal and shoot days. Countered with additional 25% of the applicable singer rate, but only for the performance days, not rehearsal days, and not for lip syncing. So apparently dancers were just getting paid the same amount whether they were expected to sing or lip sync, and they still won't pay you more for lip sync. Like, the skills of dancing and of lip syncing are not necessarily the same. That's additional work that deserves additional pay. Number 2, dancers should be paid the same for rehearsal days as they are for performance days. Yes, obviously. If you're paying someone for their work and they show up and do rehearsal, that's the same work they're doing for performance. Rehearsal days are more strenuous and dangerous than performance days. Number 2, tentatively agreed to the rehearsal day proposal. All right, well, that's something. Number 3, remove the discounted group rate for 9+ dancers. Offer to withdraw in exchange for other gains in dancers. 3, rejected. I guess you can buy dancers in a group payment? Okay. 4, redefine principal dancer to ensure professional dancers are not hired for lower background rates. Rejected. Both parties have tentatively agreed to extend the major role performer terms to high-budget SVOD series. I don't know what that means. Relocation allowance. Drop the ruse that television series regulars who travel to other states or countries for their work thereby become residents who are not entitled to reimbursement for housing or other expenses. What? If your work involved you going to another state or country, they would just go, "Oh, you're a resident over there now." So it's not like, okay. The corpos offered inadequate tax stipends that bear no relationship to the actual cost of spending months away from home to work on television shows. Cool. Sorry, your work involves you going to India. Have fun for 6 months. Oh, you're a resident of India? Well, I guess we don't have to pay you for, like, accommodations while you're over there, because it's like you live there now. Cool. Increased figures that govern when series regulars can freely bargain for work time. These figures have not changed since their inception in 1971. The corpos countered with an inadequate increase that does not even come close to adjusting these figures for inflation. Cool. Wardrobe, number 1. Increase the cleaning allowances to more accurately reflect the cost of dry cleaning when performers and background actors have to provide their own wardrobe. Yep. Background actors and performers have to provide their own wardrobes in many cases. And what, they give you like a dollar bill for your dry cleaning? Response. Offered inadequate increases that would force members to continue paying out of pocket to clean the wardrobe that production requires them to bring. Number 2. Performers who must wear restrictive corsets or other binding costumes should be entitled to additional compensation. Rejected. Fittings. To avoid incrementally bargaining this amount up every negotiation, index the money break applicable to day performers whose contracts can include payment for fitting time at a 1.5 times scale. Corpo response. Offered a one-time additional $100 to money break, but rejected the indexed annual increase. Man, $100. Holy shit. That's like one DoorDash order. Looping retakes added scenes. The parties have tentatively agreed to increases to the money breaks applicable to certain weekly performers whose contracts can include guarantees for looping retakes and added scenes, and the creation of such a provision for weekly performers working on theatrical films. Cool. Basic respect and fairness. I like the rejecteds we already see. Number 1. Background actors are the only category under our agreements who work under different terms on the East Coast than they do in the West Coast. SAG-AFTRA is seeking for all background actors to be treated equally. Rejected. Okay. Number 2. In New York, background actors reporting before 6 a.m. should not be forced to wait in unsafe areas for public transportation. Response. Offered additional reporting locations that are likely to be unsafe at early morning hours. Just have them sitting there at a bus stop at like... Okay. Number 3. Background actors who have to spend their own time styling their hair and or makeup should be compensated for 1.5 hours of work time. Offered a $35 flat fee. Not a big deal if you're just coming in looking like a regular dude, but if you're doing real, like, makeup and hair work beforehand, which a lot of them are. Number 4. Individuals required to do double duty, working as both stand-ins and background on the same day, should be compensated at 150% of the stand-in rate for the day. Rejected. Number 5. Stand-ins who are required to rehearse or perform in place of a principal performer should be paid half of the principal performer rate in addition to their stand-in pay. Offered to withdraw for single-camera shows if AMPTP agreed to multiple right, technical detail. In response, offered $150 for stand-ins who have to rehearse or perform in place of a principal performer on multi-camera half-hour shows. Rejected for single-camera shows. Notice how basically all of the corpo responses are offering minimal flat fees rather than anything proportional or hourly. They don't want to do anything percentage-based. They want to agree to a bunch of tiny flat fees that'll be made irrelevant by inflation within a decade. Because that's what happened before. They want to make everything like, oh, okay, we get a tiny loss here. You know, but don't worry. In a decade, all of this won't be worth anything anyway. Number 6. Background actors who work as the photographic double for a principal performer and are required to memorize and deliver scripted dialogue on camera should be paid a principal day player rate without residuals. Wow, what a surprise. Offer flat $150 to background actors who render services as photo doubles or deliver scripted dialogue on camera. To be clear, guys, these are background actors delivering scripted dialogue on camera. This isn't just a guy shuffling in the background. This is somebody giving... This is somebody acting in that scene. Scripted dialogue. They're in the script, as in their character is in the script, the screenplay. $150. So that was the first post. There are 2 more. We've looked at 3 out of 9 pages. Number 7. Background actors should be paid for each episode they are employed in during a single day. Rejected. Casting and self-taped auditions. Online casting platforms. Performers should not be required to pay for access to employment opportunities, nor provided preferential treatment in exchange for fees to a casting platform. And the response. Countered with an approach that will not stop the unlawful practice of requiring many performers to pay for access to jobs. So this is like when you have to do casting reels or get your headshots or your auditions or whatever. Like when you pay to even like put yourself forward for a job. Yeah, if you're an actor, in many cases, like you're paying for headshots, you've got to be up with the workouts and makeup and fashion because you're literally trying to be an actor, and then you have to make like an audition reel, and yeah, paying agents, like. Cool. Shirked responsibility for their use of third-party casting platforms and proposed disingenuous, quote, solutions that allow for preferential treatment for performers who pay more with no enforcement mechanism. Cool. Self-taped auditions. Proposed reasonable rules and expectations for self-taped auditions that alleviate some of the burden and costs of casting that is shifted to members. For example, establishing a minimum turnaround time for self-tape auditions for adults and minors, excluding weekends and holidays. Disclose if an offer is out or if the role has already been cast at the time self-taped auditions are requested. Yep. After a role has already been filled or removed, they'll still sometimes take self-taped auditions, or like people will waste their time and money making an audition for a role that no longer exists or has already been filled, either like out of fucking spite or because they're just like accumulating data on actors in case they want to use them for something else or whatever. 3, limit the number of pages for a first call, so you don't have to, like, do fucking 50 pages of a self-tape audition in order to get a job. Like, here, spend 6 hours in a recording studio, you know? They tentatively agreed to some but not all necessary regulations, but only on the honor system, as they have refused any enforcement mechanism. Cool. They tentatively agreed to reasonable workaround time or turnaround times, but refused to exclude weekends and holidays. They countered by rejecting disclosing when an offer is out and requiring performers to contact production to ask if a role has already been cast. They will only endeavor to respond. What pieces of shit? Oh, letting actors know if the role has already been cast? No. They'll have to call to ask if it's been cast, and also we'll use the honor system, and also we will endeavor to respond when they call. Countered with an unacceptable number of pages for the first call. Number 4, they tentatively agreed to limitations on technical requirements such as recording quality, cameras, lights, microphones, backgrounds, editing software, and uploading services. Because again, if you want to be an actor, you better hope that you have like thousands of dollars in media equipment to make sure that you have Hollywood quality production for your audition tape. 5. Tentatively agreed on limitations on slate requirements, including allowing vertical/portrait full-body shots. Not entirely sure what that means, but I'm glad they agreed. Number 6, any tone, style, genre, period, creative vision, character description, accent, or other available information about the project and role should be provided to the performer at the time an audition is requested. Rejected. So the reason for this is because they have incredibly like broad and vague asking calls or acting calls. And the reason for that is because they want thousands of desperate actor wannabes submitting their audition tapes so they can pick and choose what they like the most, even though 90% of the people submitting them were rejected from the get-go. It would basically be like if all job applications you had to fill out, they didn't tell you what skills you needed to have, but they asked you to list all of them so they could just pick and choose. And the consequence of that would be that it's a complete shot in the dark every time, and you're just wasting time 99% of the time, you know? They also want the freedom to be able to change their ideas like on the get-go, like if they initially have some kind of tone or style, but then they want to like shift to another one. But this is insanely like bad worker practice, you know? It wastes a ton of people's times. Number 7, tentatively agreed that performers shall not be requested to audition in the nude or required to do a stunt in an audition. That's right, currently in Hollywood, you can request aspiring actors to do nude auditions or stunts in the audition. Not stunt actors, regular actors. Do a flip, also get your tits out. Yes, this is known as the Weinstein Doctrine. Thank you. Number 8, tentatively agreed on audition regulations for dancers, including that the music and choreography shall be provided. Dancers shall not be asked to choreograph or improvise, space and time limitations, and it must be a solo dance. That's right. If you wanted to audition as a dancer, or want to right now, they might ask that you do so as a group, meaning that if you want to do work as a dancer, you need a fucking ensemble that you can convince to all get together to do group work, even if the call is only for one person. Meaning you somehow need to be able to get other equally talented people to work with you in an audition tape where only one person can get the job. Literally, why? Because they hate you. Any inconvenience suffered by the worker is fine by them if it improves their quality of living by any measure whatsoever. 1,000 hours of time or millions in money wasted by workers in any given audition, if it saves them just a minute, it is worth it to them. This is why I laugh when people say that Hollywood is a bastion of wokeness, okay? The writers, on average, may be left of center, but the corporate structure of Hollywood is one of the most brutal and exploitative that we have. Like, it's disgusting. Oh yeah, dude, it's definitely communists who run this society. Tentatively agreed on the secure storage of any self-tape auditions and written consent required at the time of use prior to making any tape public. That's right. Right now, if you make an audition reel or a tape, there isn't a pre-existing agreement on it being kept private and it can be made public. There's not necessarily any agreement on that. Number 10, performers must be provided with an opportunity to audition in person or virtually in lieu of a self-tape upon request. Response. Countered that production would do so on a first-come, first-served basis during a window of time, but this option would sunset at the expiration of the 3-year contract term. Temporary loss. Virtual auditions. Both parties have tentatively agreed to that relevant productions for self-tape auditions shall apply to virtual auditions. In addition, production shall provide additional privacy protections in virtual lobbies and maintain records of performers' call time and wait times for the calculation and enforcement of overtime pay. That's right. If you spent hours logged in the tedium of auditioning and it didn't even get the role, you might not have been paid because there was no guarantee they were even logging your hours. Geographic discrimination. Requested a discussion with relevant casting personnel regarding geographic discrimination in casting, whereby actors outside of New York and LA are offered lesser terms for the same role. Rejected. Sorry, you don't live in the 2 cities that exist in America? Guess you're getting paid less for the exact same amount of work. Not even a discussion. Discussion with relevant casting personnel. Nope. Nope. You can't talk with them. Nope. You don't live in one of the 2 cities. You're not getting the same amount of money. Sorry. Late payment, increased liquidated damages due to the unacceptable trend of egregiously late payments. Rejected. Though they admit their companies consistently pay late, they have stated that they still will not pay on time, even with increased penalties. Oh, okay. So they're like, oh yeah, penalize us however you like. We're going to pay you extremely late, whether you like it or not. No, sorry, just evil. Like they're literally like, nah, sorry. We just really like paying you late. We just really, really, really like it when like aspiring actresses in Hollywood have to turn tricks to make rent and then get the payment like the day after rent was due. We really like that. That's just our thing, you know? Talking with a Hollywood executive and they're just like sliding over a cigar cutter towards you and they're like, can you just put your finger in this? Just for me. Hair and makeup equity. To ensure equity for all members, including performers of color, all sets should have qualified hair and makeup professionals and equipment to handle a variety of hair textures, styles, and skin tones. Tentatively committed to taking steps to ensure the appropriate qualified hair and makeup professionals are on set, but applied this only to principal performers and refused to mandate it. So, no mandate, and also only if we have, like, I don't know, a black chick in the main cast. Sorry. So, like, no difference. Because if you're a principal performer, in all likelihood, you probably already had makeup and hair there that were accommodating of your particular, like, skin tone or hair. Like, basically no difference. To ensure safety, members should be given the opportunity to consult with HMU professionals prior to starting work. Tentatively agree to provide consultation to principal performers, but not to background actors. What a surprise. Refuse to make portions of this provision enforceable via arbitration. Pension and health and retirement. Pension and health will be summarized at P&H. Increase the P&H contribution caps that have remained stagnant for more than 40 years. Corpos countered with insufficient increases to the caps. Number 2, background actors under 14 years old should not be discriminated against. They should receive pension contributions like everyone else. Corpos respond by maintaining that background actors under 14 should not earn pension contributions in the West Coast zone because they, quote, are not serious about staying in the entertainment industry. Oh, that's a good argument. Oh, pensions? Oh, workplace benefits? Oh, yeah, sorry. We've decided you're not serious enough about this, doing this work at 14 years old. Sorry. Sorry, bye-bye. We don't take you seriously. No money. Bye-bye. Why should that even matter? Yeah, don't pay wages then. Sorry, we would have paid you, but like we don't think you'll be doing this job in a year, so we're just not going to give you money. Sorry, that's how this works. Bye-bye. Number 3, address the allocation and funding between the pension plan and retirement fund. Parties have tentatively agreed to suspend the current allocation methodology while they study alternatives. Great. Stop the producer practice of using benefit fund contribution caps as an excuse to keep residuals money that belongs to the members. Rejected. Sorry. Producers just want to keep your residual money. They just see the money that's meant to go to you and they want more of it. So they want your money. So rejected. They want your money that's yours, but it's mine now, smile. Yeah. Performance capture. Finally acknowledge that performance capture is, in fact, a SAG-AFTRA covered category of work. This highly skilled form of performance makes blockbuster projects like Avatar possible. Rejected. Sorry. Guys, 50% of movies these days have some dude wearing a green suit with a bunch of rubber baubles all over it doing motion capture work. But nope, sorry. That's not actually acting, even though people who do motion capture work literally do acting. Literally, look, really quick, I'll show you right now just so you know. Performance capture, Uncharted 4. Right here.
We are the only thing. Then you get. Okay. Hop on! Sam, get in the goddamn car! I'm faster! Stop arguing! Watch out!
Does it look like they're acting to you? It looks like they're acting to me. They're doing the voice acting. They're imitating the motions that they're going to be placed in the game to do. They're clearly acting. In a lot of motion capture games, they're getting like A-list celebrities, man. They had in Modern Warfare 3, they had that one guy who was evil. They had multiple acclaimed actors in the Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk. Oh yeah, Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk. Resident Evil Village mocap sessions.
He must come of his long blood.
I don't know, guys. It looks like they're acting to me. I mean, I admit it looks super goofy, but like, whether you like it or not, performance capture technology is used in a fuck ton of stuff these days, and they have to act through it. You can't performance capture isn't just, it's not the way it used to be where like a guy would put on a silly suit and then do a couple of dances and then they would just interpolate that into 3D. It's full on performances now. It's a specific skill set. This is the future of a lot of work. But sorry, not actually acting. Sorry, rejected. Oh, this kind of performance makes Avatar possible. What is Avatar? Even what is highest grossing movie of all time? Well, what is that? That's not acting. This is some minor thing. What are you talking about? Didn't Andy Serkis like get awards for his performance as Gollum? Gollum to me is still like the absolute apex of, this is older technology now. This motion capture is like 20 years old, but
one of the Andy's physical presence on
look at how goofy it looks like compared to today, you know? The suit that he's wearing.
set.
I hate you.
Anyone who does this face in front of a camera is acting, okay? All right, moving on. He did such a good job. Basically, everybody who's watched the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy remembers distinctly Gollum, the character, because he felt just as real and lifelike as every other person there, even though he was a CGI creation from 20 years ago. And that was purely due to the, like, incredible, well, not purely, but largely due to the incredible performance capture work from Andy Serkis. It still holds up really well. Yeah, seriously. It's direction. It's not just the CGI tech. It's just what a good job was done with the acting. They took it seriously. Yeah, Cumberbatch did it with the dragon in The Hobbit as well. Yeah, with Smaug. Yeah, there's no ambiguity that this is acting. Okay. Stunt coordinators should no longer be excluded from residuals such as network reruns, foreign television, and high-budget streaming. Corpos respond by offering to pay stunt coordinators residuals calculated as if they only worked 1 day, regardless of how long they actually work on a picture or episode, but this would only take effect in year 2 of the new contract? One day for a stunt coordinator? They don't do 1 day of work. SAG-AFTRA has tentatively agreed to accept the terms which match the 2019 agreement, but seeks to apply them to the first year of the contract. Number 2, stunt coordinators working under a rate that does not pay overtime or any premiums should not be paid less for television/streaming movies and series than for theatrical pictures. Corpos respond by proposing increases beyond their general wage increase offer for flat deal coordinators in television, but refuse to equalize the rates. Cool. Number 3, required so-called flat deal stunt coordinators to receive either overtime or minimum rest between workdays to address abusively long hours on set. Corpos respond by rejecting flat deal stunt coordinator overtime and minimum rest. Tentatively agreed to send a bulletin to its companies advising them to release stunt coordinators when their work is done. Tentatively agreed to send a bulletin to its companies advising them to release stunt coordinators when they're done. All right, well, here's what we can do. Maybe we'll send an email asking the companies that we represent to maybe let stunt coordinators go when their work is done and they're not being paid anymore and not just hold them there for nothing. Maybe. We'll send an email. if we remember. Diversity. SAG-AFTRA proposed and both parties have tentatively agreed to a consultation process to reduce instances of inappropriate wiggings and paint downs. Is this a blackface reference? Is this industry term for putting on a giant black afro and blackface? I don't understand what else this could be referring to because it's under the diversity category, but I genuinely don't know. I have no clue. Translation. Both parties have tentatively agreed actors should not be required to translate their own scripts without payment? Oh, well, that's something I got to learn today. I guess they were just asking actors to free translate their own scripts for free. Okay, sure. Paint downs and wiggings? Yep, it's a blackface thing. Whether by means of hair and makeup, costume, computer-generated imagery, blah, 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 the intent is to disguise a racial or ethnic substitution when stunt doubling an actor. Ah, okay. So you have like a black main character, and then you have a white stunt guy, and they're like, here, wear this wig and shoe shine. And it looks like wiggings is the same thing except for gender. Is that like a thing that happens? Like there's a female character, but then they'll get a guy to do the stunt work? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. All right. That happens a lot. Well, there are much more male stunt actors than female, but okay. Yeah. Audio descriptive services establish minimum terms for performers who narrate productions for blind and low vision viewers. Rejected. Sorry. Any standards of payment for people who do accessibility narrations or anything like that? Nope. Sorry. Protection of the profession. Oh, here we get into the real shit. Artificial intelligence. Establish a comprehensive set of provisions to protect human-created work and require informed consent and fair compensation when a, quote, digital replica is made of a performer, or when their voice, likeness, or performance will be substantially changed using AI. The corpos failed to address many vital concerns, leaving principal performers and background actors vulnerable to having most of their work replaced by digital replicas. Remember that at this point, for years now, Hollywood has been taking full 3D scans of people's bodies and faces, and has been taking like composite voice samples in the effort of building a database they can use to AI everything rather than having to pay actors. Ooh. This will be a fun page. Improve residuals due for continued exhibition of pictures made for subscription-based streaming services. The corpos offered proposals, progress in this proposal, but significant gaps remain. Set reasonable timelines for the exercise of options that do not restrict series regulars from obtaining other employment during increasingly long hiatus periods imposed by employers between seasons. Corpos respond by agreeing to improve timelines only for some performers and only for new series commencing in the second year of the contract. Because, like, depending on what you're working on, you can be, like, on call, and it's like, well, okay, I don't think we're going to be shooting again for another 3 months, so I should get another job. But then, like, it could be sooner or later, and you don't really know. And it fucks with your ability to, like, make rent. Guest stars. Performers hired by the week in recurring roles without start dates should be given at least a tentative window of work dates. Request a discussion of problematic hiring practices that result in performers being held off the market, unable to take other work. Counter makes progress, but still contains problematic provisions. Sorry, guys. Want your employers to tell you when to come in for work ahead of time? Nope. Sorry. Nope. That's crazy. What are you, some kind of communist? It's crazy. That's crazy. Here we go. Number 1. Apply union scale minimums, rest periods, and protections for minors to new media productions that are not high budget regardless of length. Rejected. Require residuals for ongoing exhibition on advertiser-supported and subscription-based streaming services regardless of the budget or length of the picture. Rejected. Calculate residuals for pictures made initially for new media, then exhibited on network and foreign television on the same basis as pictures made initially for television. Rejected. Increase the residual that applies when a traditional media picture is exhibited on a streaming platform that is free to the consumer. Rejected. Cool. Require greater specificity in the information provided in connection with the payment of residuals. Tentatively agreed to a whittled-down version of this proposal. All right, hold on. Safety. Meal breaks. Increase the penalties for not providing meal breaks, which have not been updated since 1961. Rejected. Increase the penalties for failing to allow performers sufficient rest between workdays. Rejected. Got a mouthful here. In the category of sexual harassment prevention, SAG-AFTRA proposed and the parties have tentatively agreed that producers will use good faith efforts to engage intimacy coordinators for scenes involving nudity or simulated sex, and upon request for other scenes that producers will provide information regarding discrimination and anti-harassment policies, including how to report violations, and that background actors will be given at least 48 hours notice of scenes involving nudity or simulated sex acts. That's right. That's not already a thing. You just show up to work one day and they ask you to take your cock out. This is really, really important. I think one of the best descriptions that I've seen on intimacy coordinators and their necessity is in the Folding Ideas video in which he defends 50 Shades of Grey, which is a whole thing on its own. But it contains a talk on how the first 50 Shades of Grey movie had an intimacy coordinator, but the later ones didn't. And then in the first one, the female actress, the lead of the movie, seemed like fine and kind of bubbly about the simulated sex in the movie. But in the future ones, she said she just drank to get through it. Because there was no intimacy coordinator. So, like, you have an actress who's, like, basically naked in front of the 50 people that are on set to film whatever it is you're doing. And there's no, like, professional navigating that situation. You just have, like, a male director and male cameramen and male actors and, like, all right, let's do the thing. The MPTP has also tentatively agreed to review and revise their harassment prevention training programs with an eye towards handling scenes and situations of a triggering nature. Minors. SAG-AFTRA proposed and the parties have tentatively agreed that emancipated minors continue to receive education on set and that persons engaged in the supervision of teaching of minors be subjected to a background check. What? So if you're an emancipated minor doing Hollywood work, you were like a vagabond? Wait, what? Were you just like, hello there, I'm an orphan. I'm 15 years old and I just stand here until somebody, what? Yeah, are they like a ward of the studio? Okay. I don't even know. The two parties have tentatively agreed to the funding of a travel benefit for access to reproductive health care and gender-affirming care for performers working away from home in states that restrict access to such care. Well, that's nice. They have both tentatively agreed to make, quote, reasonable efforts to provide set-adjacent warm-up spaces so dancers don't cool down before getting to set. Okay, that seems reasonable. Okay. Both have tentatively agreed to update the animal monitoring program for protection of both performers and animals when animals are on set. Anyone watched Nope? Additional important proposals. Producers should submit full and complete credits to IMDb and assist performers in correcting any inaccurate credits. They tentatively agreed to assist performers in correcting credits, but would not agree to provide full and complete credits to IMDb. Oh, sorry. You worked on a project, but they don't want to put your name there? Sorry, nope. 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 I think the union should be working harder, by the way. Look at this down here. The union withdrew the proposal to include the union logo at the end titles of their production. Nah, fuck that. Every single Hollywood production should end with a gigantic SAG-AFTRA stamp of approval. Big ass logo. It should be like taller than it is wide. So you enter at the top of the union logo, and then it just scrolls down through it for like 4 minutes. You know? Make it look like a column, like a big Roman column with like the ornamentation on the top and bottom. Absolutely. It should be like the opening logos, but for 2 hours, then you get to the movie. Yeah, have like a union rep talk to you in like a little video blurb at the end saying, "And this film was approved by the SAG-AFTRA Hollywood Union. Have you ever wondered what unions can do for you?" Like that kind of thing. Yeah. Don't be cowards. Go for it. Both parties have tentatively agreed that the accidental death and dismemberment insurance policies applicable when principal performers and background actors travel be the same amount as required by the DGA agreement. So I guess if you did travel to do your work, you got less payout for if you died or were dismembered. Okay. The more I know. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn a proposal to require residuals for off-camera stunt performers. And then it was rejected, so they retracted this proposal. That's definitely more of an edge case thing, though I still think they deserve residuals. Term. The parties have tentatively agreed to a 3-year term. We'll see. Non-disclosure agreements. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn the proposal to protect against egregious provisions in non-disclosure agreements. And they rejected it anyway. So these are things that SAG-AFTRA has like withdrawn in the ongoing negotiations. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn the proposals for scale minimums to apply to trailers and new media, but continues to ask for transparency and accuracy in the reporting to work on trailers. We'll see how things go. It's so clear from these papers that we have right here that the union is nowhere near making an agreement with the with Hollywood. Last page. And these are things that SAG-AFTRA has given up on here. That's why they're at the end. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn the proposal that the AMPTP provide the union with info necessary to determine where its members are earning their compensation. SAG-AFTRA proposed, and the parties have reached a tentative agreement, that the producers report on member earnings up to $1 million per picture. Okay. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn a proposal to require that documents be provided in electronic format, rather than requiring in-person review of paper documents. Rejected, but notably requested the option to provide documents electronically in one of their proposals in the circumstance where it benefited them. Okay. SAG-AFTRA has proposed replacing deceased arbitrators with living ones. Corpos countered with each party adding an arbitrator to each of the New York and Los Angeles panels. The parties are discussing their respective additions. So, if you're trying to arbitrate a dispute with Hollywood, the arbitration committee might be full of corpses. Much like the Academy, it is an old boys club, and there's not like a guarantee they instantly replace the people there. So it's possible, yeah, there might be a zombie committee doing arbitration for whatever dispute you have. So, yeah. Okay. In connection with progress in other areas, SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn this proposal, requiring consent and payment for use of clips in new media. Yeah, because they covered it elsewhere. That's fine. SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn a proposed payment to performers when producers elect not to release a production, thereby depriving performers of potential residuals. No, they should stick with this one. This new bullshit where, like, they'll make a movie or a TV show but not release it for tax reasons, thereby depriving potential residuals. No. They should have this. There should be strong incentives to put out a piece of work that has been made. And then finally, SAG-AFTRA has withdrawn a proposal for a new payment to performers when a theatrical film is re-released in theaters. I guess they covered this before with residuals, but it doesn't necessarily fully overlap. I think this should be kept. Okay, so what did we learn today, folks? Hollywood corpos are fucking evil. Completely just evil, demonic people. The funny thing is that as much as the right wing thinks that Hollywood is evil for being lefty or lib or whatever, the real reasons that Hollywood is evil are the things that right-wing economic policies have allowed to happen. The gutting of unions, low minimum wage, the rejection of workers' rights as a national priority. This is all great right-wing stuff. This is great for them. A conservative should be looking at this list and grinning as a free market something. I'm just making it clear that when I say Hollywood is evil, I'm not in agreement with conservatives. I'm disagreeing with them on the strongest possible level because they like this shit. That's why they keep, voting in favor of it. We also learned that union negotiators are kind of limp dicks, TBH. No. Hold on. Let's be fair, okay? Union negotiations are about compromise. This isn't a revolutionary war. You fight for what you can. The list of proposals that they came up with, in my opinion, were strong and well-informed. And it looks like they're really willing to fight with some good asks, Any conclusion that gets arrived at will not be as much as what we want, because that's the nature of compromise. We're not going to get an outcome that falls in with every desire we have. It looks like they're taking this really seriously, and I hope they continue to. We'll see how things go. It's genuinely enraging. Yeah, it is. They're evil. Totally evil. Here's a good example of wigging. Oh, nice meme. Cool. Okay. Here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit the add button, and then I am going to read donos, and then we're going to take a look at a very special video. iDubbbz recently had a conversation. I want to see how it went. I'm curious. I'm gonna hit the button. All right. Aussie Boo, thank you for the $5. I love how this shit is like, request, do not kick us in the balls. Response, rejected. Company accepts that they kick our balls, tells us to get fucked. Literally, though, and that's the whole dynamic. Gerber, thanks for the $10. I have not seen the anime version of Binks Brew, or basically anything, really. Maybe one day I'll give it a look. Mindforge and Witchflowers, thanks to the tier 1 subs both. Witchflower says, had to put my gecko of 11 years to sleep last night. Allow her spirit to bless our stream. Love you forever, Donnie. 11 years is a good life for a gek. I'm sure they had a lot of fun, or at least as much as their tiny brain could allow them to. Sorry. Pero Luchador, thank you for the $5. Do you think it is scab behavior for film podcasters to publish episodes during the strikes? Film podcasters? Like people who just make content on films? No, I don't think so. Further, is it wrong to go see a movie during the strikes? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's I don't think that's bad or wrong or anything. Pluvius and Crab Navy General, thank you for the $5. Yeah, I need to see Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've never actually seen it. Pro-Mayor rules because it makes you sympathize with terrorists and seriously consider if civilian casualties and terror attacks are fine, actually. Yeah, no. The whole story of Pro-Mayor is literally like a cop meeting a hot twink femboy terrorist, instantly falling in love, and then realizing, well, wait, oh my god, terrorism is cool, actually, and then just doing it, Pro-Mayor's a great movie. It also has the best femboy in anime. I stand by, wait, hold on. I stand by there is genuinely no femboy. People have such, like, when they're like, oh, that fucking cat thing and that shitty anime or this or that the other, okay? Leo is so much fucking cuter, all right? Not even fucking close. Where's that one gif of the throne? I need to rewatch this. Also, I think it probably has... Would people be willing to agree that Promare probably has the best, if not, maybe, okay, one of the best implementations of color theory ever in animation? I genuinely mean that. The color theory on display in Promare is actually, like, almost unparalleled, I think. It's kind of ridiculous. Where's that throne gif? The good one. Promare throne gif. Is it this one? Oh yeah, this one. So good. What are you eating, lol? I have a cough drop. Fuck, he's hot. Yes, he is. Okay. Close this, close that. Femboy? Well, yeah, that's the femboy. What movie is this? Promare! Promare! Good, it's good. Watch it. It's good. It's very good. It's an extremely good anime movie. I was one of the first Westerners to see it, you know. It was aired in the West in the 2019 Anime Exo exhibition hall, and I was one of the people in attendance alongside Vermin. It was great. Mistress Lynn, thank you for the tier 2 sub, much appreciated. RX Replica, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Flyfish, thank you for the tier 3, really appreciate that. Dummy, thank you for the $5. I agree that One Piece does have some, like, weird monarchist apologism, but to be fair, it's only in one instance. It's the Alabasta line, where the narrative is like, these rulers are good people. And even then, it's narratively explained with their, like, rejection of the world government dynamic and the rejection of celestial divinity. But overall, they tend to be pretty cynical about, you know, leadership. Moonlight Appreciator, thank you for the $15. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Happy to be shamelessly autistic, friend. My favorite thing to do. Griab Han, thank you for the 2 $5 donos. Really appreciate that. Your Reddit really is full of brain-dead troglodytes. That is true. That is correct. Is YouTube having a hiccup? That's okay. It'll be back soon. Sigma Mayo, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Far Eastern Myth, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Nobody in Threadbar, thank you for the $5 both. Very kind of you. Dun the Mito, I like Monster Hunter World. I didn't like Monster Hunter Rise that much. Grab Hunt, thank you for the 2 $5 donos. Really appreciate that. I'll take a look at Sifu. Sake, thank you for the 8 tier 1 subs. I really appreciate that. These are older donos. I'm cutting through them because I didn't after I had my Not Mad stream with media review. Jericho, thank you for the incredibly kind $20. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you're having fun on YouTube. Here are some comments I found funny on my FNAF video. Five Nights at Freddy's was never a story about religion or Christianity. Love the video on Five Nights at Freddy's, but are you seriously going to tell me you prefer the Biden regime over the previous administration? Rainbow, thank you for the $5. Oda screamed trans rights. It's not subtle. Stream is completely borked. Well, that's YouTube. Yeah, sorry guys, if YouTube's acting up a little bit, that's not on me. Everything's fine for my OBS with no frames dropped, so YouTube's just having a little fucky wucky. Honestly, why? Whoa, Sisyphus, I should ban you. Don't post shit if it's not safe for work. I will, or at least label it not safe for work. Malding over girl cock in Baldur's Gate 3 character creation. Is this real? In Baldur's Gate 3, do you seriously do like the fucking cyberpunk genital customization? Because I'm looking at what looks like a dark elf with a cock. Well, I guess a dark elf woman with a cock. Now that's pretty explicit. Is this made up? I don't know if it's made up or not. Whatever. I don't fucking care. Half of all women are gonna have dicks soon anyway. It's fucking. It's the end of masculinity. Okay. Rainbow, thank you for the tier 1 sub, and Phoebe Plays, thank you likewise. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Zeke, I did see Holic Master wrote an anime ending inspired song for me, but I wanted to show it during a stream where I didn't feel like shit so I could be properly enthusiastic. And the last stream that I did, I felt like shit. And this stream, I'm extremely tired. So I'm saving it for, like, probably, I guess, tomorrow's stream when I feel not bad. But yes, it's excellent, and it'll be given its fair due, 100%. No, Vosh, it's not made up. They're very inclusive in the character creator. Okay, here's the... Okay, this is going to sound like, I don't know. One of the things that really, like, I find really funny and really pathetic, why do right-wing guys pretend they don't like looking at girls with dicks? I know what they post on 4chan. I know what gets popular in the fucking hentai dojins, okay? Like, they pretend, like, oh, I'm so offended. Fuck off. Come on, Jesus Christ. Are you serious? Nobody's buying this. Oh, sure. Here, move that and set them right here. I'll get them in a second. Yeah, we had a really good time at the concert. Concert? I'm got so little sleep, dude. I got nothing. I didn't even realize how fucking late I was up until the sunlight started streaming through the window. Band tees. Classic. Foot Ox, which was the opening band at the Crocodile last night. And I got a glow-in-the-dark cat shirt for AJJ. And it's Knife Man, the cousin of Chainsaw Man. For Vermin. We also saw Killer Mike, who was great. Though the shirts didn't appeal to me as much. I mean, sorry, he took off at like the very beginning in the comic Yin Yang Man. Like the full thing just happened like right away. They had a Furby shirt too, yeah. What is Killer Mike? He was a lyrical rap artist, but it was Killer Mike and Eagle. And they were both great. Did you have a good time? Yeah, I got recognized 5 times. As soon as I went in the venue, I went into the merch line because there was already a big line. I was talking with Vermin the entire time, and I got approached. Open Mike Eagle and Video Dave, that's right. And I got approached by a gorgeous woman who was like, oh, hey, you're Vosh. Can I, like, take a photo with him? I took a photo with her girlfriend or whatever. But then the sound of me talking alerted the people in line around, and it turns out the 3 people in line in front of us were also fans of mine. So, like, the noise of me talk. I wonder if I could have, like, met every person in there, I have a feeling there would have been like 30 people who knew me, because the odds of like every person in line right ahead of me knowing who I was pretty wild. And then I took photos with all of them. So you went to a concert, don't you hate music? No, I don't hate music. I like music. I just don't connect with it the same way that like most people seem to. But I still like it, you know. I really liked AJJ's music, you know? It was folk punk, I think. Did I say Killer Mike? No, I meant Open Mike Eagle, not Killer Mike. The first girl also recognized YMS. Adam from YMS is more popular than I am, so it's not surprising to me that he would get, you know, recognized. AJJ has a song about Joe Arpaio. Well, AJJ's name was apparently originally Andrew Jackson Jihad, so it makes sense that there would be an overlap with my community because it's a cool name and I respect the name. So, you know. Vosh likes folk punk. Holy fucking base, Jesus Christ. No, I don't. It's not a big genre thing for me. I liked how the music sounded. You know. I'm not like that particular about it. Folk punk is very emotional. It was very emotional. Yes, it was very emotional music. Yeah, I don't know. Ugh. I feel like it's really warm in here, despite the AC being on full blast. Jeez. What was I saying? I forget. I'm sorry. I'm really tired. Okay. Vosh donos. Pause on the donos. We'll take a look at the donos in a second. Let's start this goddamn video. No more donos allowed. Okay. I feel like I have a weird relationship with iDubbbz. Partly because we both have the same name, Ian. Which is funny because I've never interacted with him once. However, the relationship, it's a one-way one. You might even say it's parasocial. My concern here is that iDubbbz has been an edgy boy in the past, and like I've said many times before, even though he loved saying the N-word and all sorts of stuff like that, I just do not think he is or ever has been reactionary. I just don't. I don't. You can go and look at archived versions of his old content, and I think that at least at this stage in my life and political awareness, I feel like I can do a pretty good job of distinguishing between being edgy because you think it's funny and being edgy because you want to use it as a cover for being reactionary, right? So I've known people who make edgy jokes in ways that are clearly in solidarity with the groups that they're being edgy towards. In other words, never from iDubbbz did I get the impression that he did anything for any reason other than comedy. Now, does that mean that what he did was perfectly great? No, a lot of people who liked iDubbbz just liked that he said the N-word. You have to be really careful when it comes to edginess. I've often had this issue, or have been accused of having this issue, when it comes to ironic sexism. My opinion is that when I make ironically sexist jokes, I do so in a way that where the underlying comedy is the absurdity of the sexism, which makes it really difficult to, like, sincerely buy into it when sexist. It's not a perfect line to walk, but, you know, comedy's hard. What are you going to do? iDubbbz has been getting a lot of flack lately for running the, I'd say, a bit of an apology circuit. He posted a video where he was introspective, which is great, and apologetic for past behavior in a way which I don't think is bad, but I do worry a little bit for him, you know? I think that self-improvement should always be a process of growth and celebration, not one of guilt and, self-debasement. I don't think he's been self-debasing, but, well, let's see. How's the conversation? 50% like, 50% dislike. What's going on here? The opening line of this YouTube's little comment blurb down here is, there's a recurring trend of white content creators building their platforms on bigoted content and then apologizing years after the fact. Don't worry, folks. I'll never apologize. You don't have to worry about it from me. He's streaming right now and does regularly. You should host him sometime. Probably, wouldn't be a bad idea.
Black creators and black people in general have had to deal with the environment that, me and, other creators have
Wait,
made.
what is he streaming?
What it used to be, huh?
Not even close, man. I'm like,
New squirrel
I wasn't
video
even
plus
busting
World of
that
Warcraft.
hard.
Oh man, what's a squirrel video?
Because if we had the ability to cancel you,
Do you know this girl, Vosh? We follow each other on Twitter, and I'm going to be honest with you. The main thing that I know about her is that she's fucking stacked. Something which she does, which she makes everyone following her very aware of. So you don't have to, you know, try hard to learn that about her. But I don't think I've like directly interacted with her, so I have no preconceptions outside of the stacked thing. So I mean, that's cool, right? That's not bad. That's a cool thing, you know.
you wouldn't have been successful in the first place.
And I totally.
All right, well, let's skip the coming up because I'm going to watch the damn video.
I want to preface this video with a disclaimer. If you are somebody who innately finds the mention of race or racism agitating, turn this video off and go where the love is, because you are not gonna find it here, babes, and we are being productive today. This is not a drama video. It's not a video about canceling anyone. It's not even a video about railing against white content creators who create platforms.
Oh shit! Big Mouth reference in the back. It's over. Are these like these are paintings that she's done, right? These aren't like production stills or anything. That's cool.
Doing bigoted content and apologize and or pivot. It's about trying to get to the root of how these
Soy Goku. Did somebody just say Soy Goku? Who just said Soy Goku? Who's the fake Dragon Ball? Who's the fake Dragon Ball fan? Who said that? I saw that in chat for just a second. That's Yamcha. You fucking Gaijin. You fucking Baka Gaijin. This is the guy whose job it was to get his ass kicked by every threat up until, like, God, I don't know, Cell, and then he just chilled in the sidelines, okay? Past a certain point, he became a sideline dude, all right?
platforms come to exist in the first place, why they seem to persist in spite of the communities that they harm, actively telling those creators that it causes harm, and what, if any, material things those creators can do to mitigate the harm they've caused and or at least demonstrate their sincerity so we, as an audience, can better determine who is being genuine and who's just trying to make some kind of leftist rebrand. Because the reality is, this exists, this happens. So what do we do going forward? This is not a video about condemnation. It is about problem solving.
Honest question. Can anyone think of any instances of somebody actually doing a really insincere rebrand as a leftist? I'm sure it's happened, but I'm wondering what an example of that would be. Where, oh, okay, Bad Bunny. Oh, Bad Bunny's a perfect, yeah, okay, Bad Bunny for sure, for sure. Anybody else, though? Like, I mean, somebody who fits kind of this description, where they're like a white, edgy dude, but then they, like, you know, shift over. But no, but I mean, like, and they're still bad. Like, it was insincere. I'm not really seeing examples of what I'm thinking of. No, Destiny does not fit the bill. I don't know. I just don't know how much this actually happens.
And it's about recognizing very real realities, very different kinds of harms and different perspectives and opinions people are entitled to have around harm that is caused. I interviewed iDubbbz, or Ian.
I was being very, just generally uncaring.
But before I show you that interview, I need to first give you a little backstory and explain to you why I interviewed him so you have the proper context to view it in. Because again, this is not about him as an individual. He is a case study, which is why I first interviewed Franchesca Ramsey, an amazing writer, comedian, actress, and also somebody that iDubbbz had personally attacked and caused a harassment campaign to wage against her for years. I started thinking about this because I co-host a show called The Leftist Mafia. And a couple of months ago, we had to remove one of our co-hosts, Illuminati, when substantial evidence was brought to the table to show.
Now that Illuminati is canceled, I've only seen this logo a couple of times, but I'm brave enough to say it when nobody else will, okay? This is a hot logo. Because chicks wearing hoodies and then, like, having panties or nothing on, so it's just leg underneath, that's just good. You know? It's a good thing I heard about Illuminati's fucked up behavior before I saw the logo. Because if I saw the logo first, I would have been like, no. I don't think Illuminati would do that. I don't think she would do that, actually. I'll defend her. Sorry.
That she had a history of attacking and harassing every creator that seemed to cross her path. But more than that, we learned that she had done what I like to call the leftist rebrand. It's when white content creators build platforms on what they call edgy but bigoted content. And then after years of causing harm and attacking absolutely anybody who criticized them for it, they simply apologize to their audiences who not only never cared that they did it, loved them precisely because they did it. And that audience, of course, forgives them because it was never their harm to forgive. And they go on business.
I think what we're seeing with iDubbbz, though, is that the audience doesn't forgive them. The audience gets mad that they're apologizing for what they did, you know? Because if they apologize for doing the stuff that the audience liked, that's an implicit attack on the audience. Because they're basically saying, like, oh, well, you were wrong to have liked that. And that's kind of what iDubbbz did, too, right? I think it can cause a lot of drama, depending on how it's done.
As usual. The problem with these redemption arcs or rebrands, however you choose to characterize it, is that one, you never really know who's being sincere versus just making some kind of pivot for their own financial or professional gain. Two, there are rarely any concrete acts of atonement made to or for the individuals or communities that were actually harmed, and they're usually left entirely out of the conversation. Three, while it does theoretically make sense to want to forgive people for doing something wrong and then recognizing that and wanting to do better, little exploration is had into whether or not giving out that forgiveness so freely incentivizes other white creators to build their platforms this way, knowing they will be excused in the future. And four, little exploration is had into why
I do think that understanding people's sincerity is important, but I really don't think that's like a real problem. Like, if we're overly forgiving to people, that'll make people be edgy because in years from now, they're planning on doing a pivot. I just don't... Yeah, I don't know. Audiences just tend not to like it when people do pivots from edgy to left content, you know? Kind of for the same reason that Keppels got a ton of blowback when she kind of pivoted from being broadly representative of left pro-trans stuff to being more authentically edgy. There's a lot of tension between those forces.
Those creators didn't seem to realize their behavior was apology worthy when the communities they were harming were actively telling them it was. As Francesca put it,
they will make you a target and they will make you their jumping off point, and they will use bigotry as a come up. And I don't want to be right. It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
But as
when
I'm
are you going to pivot to leftist
like,
content, Vosh? One day.
This would happen years ago. Years. Not a month ago, not a week ago, years. Check the receipts. I said this would happen, and it absolutely did.
So while I'd been thinking about all that, I came across this tweet by Francesca.
I didn't intend on making a video about this, but I'm so angry that like I just have to say something and just like get it out and let it go. So recently there's been a wave of people who've made bigoted content on the internet coming forward and apologizing. TikTok, we've got Kelly Cagdon. On YouTube, we have iDubbbz, I think is how you say his name. And in years past, we've had Shane Dawson. And all of these people I have different relationships with. So I hosted a show for MTV called MTV Decoded. I actually created the show.
I don't know anything about Cheska. I don't really think there's much of a comparison at all to be made between iDubbbz and Shane Dawson, though. That's like a whole different... That's a whole different thing.
I wrote on the show, I hired tons of incredible people and made a lot of great content that I am very proud of. But at the time that the show was on, I dealt with a lot of harassment because of it from these people that labeled themselves anti-social justice warriors, anti-feminists on YouTube, including iDubbbz. And he made a number of videos where he used the N-word fully uncensored, where he put my face in videos and called me, you know, a and you know, said that my work was cancer and like my work made him want to kill himself. Most of these videos have been privated, so I can't show them to you, but I've seen them. And he created a culture and a fan base that then harassed me. So did Shane Dawson.
And the caption on the video read, a response regarding creators who rebrand or outright denounce their past racist or bigoted content via apology video. The culture of harassment and bigotry you created and profited off is not erased with a sorry or a rebrand.
The thing that I've always been curious about from people who say stuff like this, and I don't necessarily disagree, because obviously, like, the consequential harm of what you've done isn't erased just by changing your mind, even if you've been sincere, right? But I guess what I don't understand is, like, what are you supposed to do? Because a lot of people will say stuff like, you know, oh, well, you need to make amends. But what does that, like, actually mean? If you've done bad things, but you sincerely switch over to doing good things, okay, so the bad things did not happen. The past still has effects on the present, you know. You can't erase that. But what yeah, I've never seen anyone answer this question. It always just goes to this like vague, you have to make amends or you have to listen to concerns or whatever. But what it always feels like to me is actually being said is you need to just meet my arbitrary standard of approval. It always just seems like, okay, well, maybe you are sincere in saying good stuff now, but like, I'm not swayed. But so by what criteria could you be swayed? Well, you haven't made amends. Well, what does that mean? Right? Like it's stuff like that. Which I don't really care for. People have accused me of being overly enabling in my willingness to say like, oh, well, I think this person's changing for the better. But in my experiences, I just haven't seen many consequences to welcoming people in an open way. If we believe in rehabilitation, like broadly as a social value, if we think that like, oh, this black kid from the inner city who did like a shooting was, you know, not like fundamentally evil, but was cajoled by gang leaders in the area, and in reality could be a functional good person with the right environments, or this person did this horrible thing, or like this person did an assault, or this person had mental illness and like assaulted a person in a subway, but like if we're willing to go as like a general principle, I believe people can change. The question then is, well, what criteria do we look to, you know? And that's tough, and that varies a lot in case-by-case situations, but I don't think it would be fair for a person to go like, oh, well, that guy assaulted somebody and did his time, and now he's like conciliatory and apologetic and seems good, but I'm not convinced. Maybe that's like an okay interpersonal decision, but I don't know if it's a good moral argument against them. I don't know. There's not like a hardline answer or anything. It's very vague. It's not like for everyone. There's no way to know, and you have to have some standard.
When I looked at the people that she had tagged, I realized that iDubbbz and I followed each other because I attended Creator Clash earlier this year with my friend LOL Overruled.
Is that how
so
I get
went
to
down
follow?
the rabbit hole, starting with the apology. Which, listen, as far as these apology videos go, it was a better one.
He was so flagrant, and I will say, like, I'm not one to give out cookies. I watched his whole apology video, and I will say, like, in the grand scheme of responses, he did a better job than most. So I'm going to say that he probably had someone advising him, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's probably a smart thing to do. But again, it's just not enough for me. It's not.
So this is what I mean. She's perfectly in the right to never like iDubbbz. If she's been like personally harassed by iDubbbz, that's fine. You can never like a person for any reason you want. That's okay. But as a broad social standard, I'm wondering what a good line would be, you know? This is probably in large part because, so my standard on this is different because like, so a good example for me would be like Destiny. I don't like him very much. There's a little known secret. Many people haven't figured this out yet. I'm not fond of the guy. He's just a weird guy, you know, just a little off-putting, a little strange. Maybe that's me being ableist, but I'm just not fond of the man. And, but like, if I've always been like, you know, well, regardless of broader taste, like if he wants to do work canvassing or whatever, because he hallucinated a lefty that told him that it would be wrong for him to canvass, so then he wants to do it, whatever leads him to, you know, like, oh, okay, well, he's doing a good thing there, or like, okay, well, that's good. And I can leave it at that, you know? I guess I'm just not really concerned with like an arbitrary standard of when I think he would be on the quote good team. I'll probably never like him. But that's not the same as having an understanding of the consequences of people's actions, right? Like, you can dislike even good people, and that's fine. That's your right, you know? It's America. You can do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pausing a lot, and it's a long video. But, you know, I just want to be clear. I'm not attacking either of these two. These are, like, not fundamentally answerable questions. And I do recognize that this question does ring a little different for me because I'm A, a white guy, B, edgy, and C, nonstop targeted as like the boogeyman of BreadTube, you know? So I'm like, my perspective on these issues is going to be really different from, I don't know, a black woman who's had to deal with 1,000 edgy white dudes attacking them, and then one of them shifts over and is like, actually, I'm good now. I recognize that, like, purely in terms of experiential bias, coming from different perspectives. So yeah, that's, you know, that's not nothing.
for me, and I hope that he's genuinely committed to being a better person. And again, like, I listened to it and maybe he is, but like,
notably though, in his apology, he singled out only one creator. At first, the only name he singles out to apologize to in this video
is a white woman.
Francesca, okay, we're right here. We are right.
I mean, you know, I clocked that immediately.
See, I didn't know who she was, so I assumed she was a black woman, right, based on the context of the video.
But did you go down the rabbit hole of how that situation started? I mean, the levels of irony. You apologizing to a white girl for using the N-word, who also used the N-word,
who used to herself,
who also used the N-word, and you thought that you were going to check her on using the N-word, but using the N-word.
Also using it.
Come on, we in an Inception territory.
But I do think it's a conversation that needs to be had.
This is like the shit Shark went through all over again? No. They're laundering personal grievances as broad moral battles. No, guys. This is what I mean. Don't start off defensive. Don't start off defensive. It is true that everyone who disagrees with me is wrong and morally evil, but we haven't gotten there yet. Understand it from their perspective. iDubbbz did a lot of questionable stuff and said a lot of questionable stuff and did lead harassment campaigns, unknowingly or otherwise. And then if he does an apology video and the one person he names an apology is a white woman, but not like can you understand why they might think that's noteworthy? You know? Like if a lot of black women got targeted and it's like a lot of the controversy was over saying the N-word, but the named person is a white, you know, like I can understand what, you know.
Had with the centering of whiteness, even within your recognition of wrongness or apology going forward, there's still, not only is there a centering of white women in even the apology and aftermath, but it's even the center of what I believe drove the desire to go this path, because I think his audience, what happened is the audience,
they were attacking his wife,
and that is the tea, and that's the tea.
That's when it got real.
and that's what I'm like, so it got real for you when a white woman was hurt, and in the apology it's only a white woman who is singled out and apologized to, because I'm like, well, you're apologizing for making racist and bigoted content, and yet no black person has been individually named, right?
And to be fair, like, I don't need him to check me by name. I would prefer my name to stay out of it. But at the same time, I did similarly to you clock the irony of him devoting a substantial part of that video directly to Tana.
Yes.
And even she's another example of someone who has rebranded, right? Like, she was saying the N-word, she was making this like bigoted content, and then she really kind of,
this is kind of shallow. She was his wife, not a white woman. Isn't it's the Tana Westbrook is the woman, the woman who iDubbbz went up to and said the N-word to like discombobulate, ameliorate. That's not his wife. Tana Moja? I don't know her actual name. It's Tara Westbrook. I don't fucking know. Guys, just watch the video. There's a lot of defensive people in chat already. Okay. No matter how many times we go through this process, guys, every individual person has to be given the chance to disappoint us completely before we act defensive or presumptuous with them. Everyone deserves the opportunity to disappoint me. Everyone deserves the opportunity to leave a fresh wound on my psyche. We don't come to this with our shields up, okay? So let's just watch it.
Moved in a different direction, and that was what he called out, supposedly, that led down that path. So again, it rings hollow for me, especially because I've been on the internet a very long time and I've watched this happen numerous times, and I've seen people come and go, and the people who are able to remain relevant and the ones who are able to continue to have a platform evolve. And sometimes it is authentically so, and other times it's like, oh my God, I gotta move, I gotta change shit up because they about to cancel me, I'm about to get out of here. And it's like,
I have to set the stage for this kind of video because when you talk about racism, there are people who just feel personally attacked. They automatically feel like you're making a personal indictment of them, and from that moment forward, they are in defense mode and you are their adversary.
Okay, really quickly, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm feeling so vindicated right now. I was checking my Twitter DM requests, and I got a message from somebody saying, okay, the other night, after I did my big rambling rant on game analysis, and people in my Reddit got mad at me, and then I got angry at them, there was one person afterwards who said okay, if you're in my subreddit, and you're saying, like, and we had an argument or something, you disagree, and you're saying that I got triggered over something, this is like an unwinnable gamble, you know? Because if you say that I'm triggered over something, and I'm not, I'm going to ban you. And if you say I'm triggered over something and I actually am, I'm going to ban you. Why would you, what outcome are you looking to get here? And I just got this DM in my Twitter DMs, which said, bitch, what the fuck happened to you? What the fuck happened to socialism? I get your LGBTQ and your sexual social orientation, but this is just fucking ridiculous. You're a fucking utilitarian, but you choose to obsess over some tiny subset over the general population. I'm not even a socialist. I think a mixed economy is better, but you really seem to have pigeonholed yourself in the LGBTQ community concerns. If I wasn't drunk all the time, I'd totally challenge you to a debate. Also, your pussies banned me from the sub for talking shit on you. I think this is the guy. So now I know what kind of person disagrees with my video game media takes. This kind of person. Now I know. I feel so vindicated right now. Okay, continuing.
Because what they're really hearing is, you think I'm a bad person. You think I consciously decided to be racist. But the reality is a lot more nuanced and a lot less personal than that. The reality is that if you recognize that racism is pervasive in a society, that there is systemic racism, that we are all being raised and educated and indoctrinated in a society that has woven racism and anti-blackness into our laws, into our media, into our schools, into our every fabric of our institutions, you will internalize and perpetuate racism and anti-blackness, whether you're aware, whether you consciously set out to be or identify as a racist, whether you're a good person to the people in your life, whether you think you mean well or not, unless you make the
This is true. People in chat seem to be in agreement, but I just want to make clear, the only difference between what she's saying right now and what I'm saying is that I go out of my way, and this is a reflection of my personality too, so it's not really like something I have to try for, but the way that I phrase progressive talking points like this are done in a way that makes it easier to disarm people who are resistant to talking points like this, if that makes any sense. Because I think that's one of the benefits of being like a white anti-racist or whatever, right? Because like, I could be like, hey, you know, United States, racism, it's a thing, right? It's been known to happen. It's not great. You know? Like, if you lean into everything with this like jovial, disconnected, sort of pseudo-comedic tone, I think it's a lot easier to lay out arguments that other people would get defensive about. But holy shit, man, people get so defensive when a black woman says stuff like this, you know? Like, institutional racism affects people's behavior, whether or not they're consciously aware. Like, that's absolutely true. It's like objectively true. It's inarguably true. But people get really defensive, or at least much more so when a black woman says it than a white guy. So it's, you know, yeah, all good.
Decision to recognize and unlearn these things and do better going forward. Although it is often received as such, it is not an innately personal indictment if you are a white person being told that something you do or say is racist. The problem is doubling, tripling, and quadrupling down, taking an utter refusal to hear or consider what entire communities are actively telling you. And it's often worse than just ignoring or refusing to hear those communities that these creators are causing harm to. Often their audiences will attack those communities.
But you know, again, like, not to give him cookies because it's the bare minimum, but
Brownies.
It is very telling that he admitted that this was coming from a place of insecurity.
I am very insecure about my ability to create interesting content or like entertain. And it's one of the reasons why I, kept making this hurtful content. I don't want you to interpret that as an excuse, but I hope that that is relatable to other creators who maybe struggle with the same thing. I'm not confident in my ability to entertain. And I think if I had to rely on my personality to entertain people, that I wouldn't have any amount of success.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing that I picked up on too, where it's like, it's really easy to, and I'm guilty of this too, like, I don't participate in, I used to like hate tweet stuff. I'd be like, I hate this show, so let me sit here and talk about it. And it's like, you know what? Even if I don't like the content, they did the work and they put it out in the world. Instead of me doing the same thing, I'm sitting here hating on them and shitting on them when I could be putting this energy into making the thing that I'm actually interested and passionate about. And that's what a lot of these creators that build platforms off of just hating on things, it's like, it's because you can't create anything from scratch. You have to really put yourself out there to have an original idea and put the time and energy into crafting it and building an audience. It's really easy to piggyback on somebody else's work and then just say, well, this sucks. It's like, okay. You literally have not made anything. And so again, it's truly the bare minimum, but him acknowledging that was coming from a place of like, am I actually even funny? Yeah, I believe that. I believe that you didn't know if you were funny without talking shit about other people's work.
I think he's
I
funny.
believe that. I 190% believe that. And I think that's actually, when I peel it back, that's actually what was a bigger problem for me when I realized it, because I'm like, me recognizing that in the same way that you recognize that both of us were inclined to give empathy, and both of us were like, you know, I understand the impulse to do this, I understand the impulse to shit on these things, I understand that, but you know what makes you feel, I think two things. One is Black people, we're always being asked of and expected and held in the place to always have to be compassionate, empathetic to people who are mistreating us, one, but two, it's because we as creators can appreciate what someone else has created and what goes into that, and that makes you have a different kind of respect for that. So it's two levels. We respect it on a human level, we empathize because we're humans, and then we empathize as creators. And on no level did he empathize, on none of those levels did he empathize with any of these people, so much so that even in this apology, none of them get singled. Where was the Jinx? Where was where were these people? Where was any Jinx? That was the beginning of the end for Jinx's platform, and he's no longer on YouTube. And then I thought about that. That's also a part of it. The reason why you single out the white content creator, in addition to it being a white woman, because she's still here.
And guess what? She was like, come on my podcast. Let's talk. They're just going to...
I don't know all the details of what they're discussing right now, but they said that this was necessary context before the discussion, so I'm fine with that. You should go on Leftist Mafia. It's just a whole bunch of people that like you. I don't know if it is. That's a bold assumption for me to make.
Use this to then platform each other and continue to like raise their own profile, which is why I'm like, none of this holds water for me because, you know, again, like bars in hell, but the only person that I've really seen take any real measurable responsibility is Jenna Marbles. She said, I'm out. She said, I've built a platform, I've done some things that I'm not proud of, and I think her motivations were twofold. I think she was burnt out on creating content to begin with. I think that was just, you know, the timing was right, but she said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And again, like, I don't think she needs me to accept her apology or anything, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, you're backing up what you're saying. Like, I've profited off of this. I don't.
Well, surely we can have a better standard for moving leftwards as a content creator than leaving content creation. I mean, surely that can't be the only standard.
Good about it, so I'm going to bow out. And
calm down, facetious.
It just feels like damage control to make the apology and then just move. Because even he said at one point, he was like, I'm not going to just keep apologizing. I'm not going to keep making content about this. And I was like, yeah, exactly. This is you going, I'm done with this and I never have to think about it again after this. When the reality is you've made millions off of this content. So
and I think that is actually, you know, a place.
What did Jenna Marbles do anyway? What has Jenna Marbles done? I don't even know. She did blackface? Jenna Marbles blackface. Yeah, that looks like blackface. I could see some people getting upset over this. I'm seeing room for controversy. Apparently she was doing like a Nicki Minaj. Interesting.
Something that I actually want to discuss, and I will discuss with him, because you know, normally when you have conversations about like reparations, just as a larger conversation in our society, that becomes a harder, more nuanced conversation, because people say, then who, blah, blah. Yeah, this is very,
no,
we know who.
We can see.
We know who and we know when. And I'm like, well, you know what? I think, and I'm going to talk to him about this, I think, you know what is a meaningful step? Because I know he said in the video, I am running ads on this video, and I'm going to donate to a foundation or something. The Black people you've harmed, of course, there are far more Black people that have been harmed than just the individual content creators, and that you will have to atone for in some other way, and you probably will not be able to, right? That's just what that is, because you put that out into the world, and you can't take that back. Once you fester hate and white supremacy, it is what it is. But as far as the individual creators, you know who they are. You go look at the privated videos on the videos, every video you did, every content cop on a Jinx, what you did to you, what you did to all of them, and what was the revenue on those videos, and pay and cuts and checks. And again,
he did acknowledge that he has built a career, a successful
Yeah.
career, because he's gone on to do other things outside of YouTube. I think he's doing this like boxing series
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's
You can do that. I don't think that the measure of a person's growth or change should be being willing to give money to people that they've been mean to before. I guess you can do that. I guess it would really depend on like the severity of the harassment. You know, that stuff can, there's like a wide range of potential ways that could hand out.
making tons of money from that.
Yeah.
He got that platform off of those videos. He didn't
Yeah.
just get the opportunity to sell tickets and do, these big events.
I think he
just
lost
because
money
he's a-
on the
he's a
most
great
recent Creator
fighter.
Clash.
No,
Yeah.
he got to do that because he built a ginormous audience on YouTube.
Right.
And I don't know who his wife is. I don't watch her content, but his success has also given her an ability to have a platform, right?
Yeah.
There's like a trickle down to your point about reparations. We can see that the content that he created has opened doors for him beyond YouTube. So again, personally, I don't need a check from him. I'm good.
And I love that for you.
But I love that for me too. Honestly, I really do. But at the same time, it's like an apology is not enough for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything that he can do that will ever be enough.
Yeah.
And I think that him and any of these other creators who rebrand, if you genuinely are looking to better yourself, you have to acknowledge and accept that it won't be enough for some people.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I
Yeah.
don't think about you. I don't lose sleep over you. You should be moving forward in a way that's repairing harm and being better every day of your life.
Yeah.
Because that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like not being a racist, not being a bigot is the bare minimum. We're not giving out cookies for that.
I don't really like that sentiment. Even if, if self-improvement should always be incentivized. I don't like the idea that like every time a person improves and the world improves with them, the immediate discussion is like, oh, well, I'm not thanking them for that. I feel like there's more to talk about here than just your willingness to not, there's, if in a purely utilitarian sense, I mean, obviously the goal should be to incentivize the best possible behavior. We don't want to make it intolerable to move left. That doesn't produce good outcomes. I just don't know what like the threshold for reconciliation is. But like moving over to the left or becoming a better person doesn't require people who you've wronged in the past to like you, This isn't like My Name is Earl. Growing as a person doesn't mean that you have to get the thumbs up from everyone behind you. That's not like the criteria by which you're judged.
Thank you so much. I am surprised that you agreed to do it, but very delighted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit. 2016 me, probably wouldn't.
Listen, I'm surprised 2023 you were doing it either.
Oh, hell yeah. I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, listen, I honestly want to start off by saying that I very much so respect that you were even trying to take all the accountability and the ownership of it all. I respect that you were even coming over to my side of the internet to come talk about it, because I am very much so a racial investigator, and people find me to be an intimidating character. So I'm like, and I try to be really transparent because I don't like to ambush people or anything like that. It's not my steez. I don't enjoy it. I don't like stressful content or stressing people out.
The tone has changed? Well, yeah, this is a separate conversation with a separate person, probably on a separate day. Of course, the tone's going to change. We'll see how the convo goes.
So that's why I'm like, let me go into it and be as transparent as possible. I want to be as nice as possible without being accused of being too nice, while also being as transparent about what are some of my takeaways and thoughts, and also giving you the opportunity to expand, and let's try work to a good place.
Yeah, you have a very tough job. I don't, I know what you mean. You got to walk a line.
You get it, exactly. So basically, let me tell you the starting, how we ended up here. So, I went to Creator Clash with my boy Alex. And funny enough, he actually had tried to fill me in on the controversy, but I never care about anything. So this is how the conversation went. He invited me to come to Creator Clash. He called me to be like, hey, just so you know, there is a little bit of, controversy. He's done some edgy content in the past. And I said, is edgy white people speak for racist? And he said, And he said, yes. And I said, okay. And I said, all right. And that was all my, you know, because listen, I'm of the mindset we live in America. We live in a racist society. We live in these kinds of things. I am not putting it on you as an individual or anything like that. And I don't really want to take an individualistic approach to trying to nail you to the cross. I more so just want to see different things, and I think patterns that we can unpack, and maybe it could make it better for some people to understand what are issues Black people have with certain content or going forward in these kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I saw the apology, watched the whole video, and I texted both Alex and my editor, and I said, this is the best of them I've seen of as far as apology videos and seeing content creators throughout the years and actors, famous people, public figures make apologies. I thought it was the most accountable I've ever seen it be. So I want to give you all the credit for that.
That's great to hear. I mean, for me, it's been a huge relief because I think for me, it's like, you know, even though I was taking a stance on, you know, using slurs and, you know, being very like, just not wanting to be responsible for how other people felt, me existing in the world and, you know, trying to, you know, live outside of my bedroom at home, I found it to be very challenging to interact with people without feeling some amount of guilt of like, have you seen my videos? You know, how would you interpret what I've said? And, you know, how uncomfortable have I made you? And it, you know, it interaction after interaction, it kind of added up to me saying like, yeah, something needs to be.
Bosch is reacting so hard right now. Listen, when it's not a debate, you know. When I have thoughts, I'll say them. I think this is fine. I think this is worthwhile engagement. We are here to watch what they say.
Said.
Yeah.
At least.
And I feel that, and I understand that, and I very much so am glad that you at least even came to that spot, because that's more than most ever do. But what I guess I wonder is, why not then? Because a trend I've realized very often, I see this in the space a lot, is a tendency for, you know, white content creators to be called out for things present day that were racist and bigoted then. But there were always Black people and people present and marginalized people telling them that then. Why not hear it when they say it?
I think generally, I think for me, it was, I think a sort of a policy or like a just very black and white thinking. Like as soon as because for me, I think it's about caring about how other people are feeling, period. Not necessarily just marginalized people. I think I personally had an issue with like caring about people's feelings at all, because I felt like as soon as I would open that door, then like I felt like I would be a lot less safe to, you know, do and say whatever I wanted. And now that's kind of like an in, I guess, for people to criticize, or an in for, you know, people to, you know, because I'm essentially
that's kind of true. It's one of the reasons why I say that for the most part, you should never apologize to like the mob, like capital T, capital M there. If you do a lot of good, you know, and one thing wrong, and you admit that you did one thing wrong, like you're now wrong on everything. Because people are always going to accuse you of having fucked up on something. And as humans, we do fuck up on things. The problem is like, it's really, really difficult to selectively point out where a mistake was made and then have people understand that's what you're willing to apologize for, you know? So like an example would be if I said something that I genuinely thought was like problematic or like bigoted or something, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I apologize for that. You can imagine a million people going, well, what about all these things you said? And then they go on to like cite a ton of shit that I said that's totally fine, right? Once you indicate that you're willing to accept any criticism, you open yourself up to all of it. And criticism is good if it's good criticism, but this being the internet, it generally isn't. So I can understand a hesitance to open yourself up to stuff like that, though obviously, you know, it's going to happen to an extent anyway. So responsibly engaging with that is important.
Exposing myself as like, oh, I'm now thinking about how other people are feeling, you know, but I guess to your point, I don't have any Black friends. I have some friends who are people of color, but you know, it's never, I grew up in Southern California, and I'm certain if I grew up around more Black people, I wouldn't have felt nearly as comfortable saying the things that I was saying. And I think the more interactions that I've had with Black content creators, and just, you know, regular everyday people, the more I've realized like this matters.
So, you know, and I don't say this as an indictment. I say this as a transparent thing that we would all realize. And I appreciate your answer, because I think your answer allows me to like more clearly parse that out. Is didn't care, and I don't mean that in a but didn't care. These are not people that you, and that was something I think kind of struck me, right? Because in watching your video, a thing I wanted to ask you about was, how come Tana, of all the, you only singled out one person?
Okay, she is going to bring it up.
Why her?
I think because I kind of just took it to like another level. Because I think a lot of commentary channels, they can feel very comfortable and justified in speaking about a variety of topics because they're not like in-person harassing people, and a lot of them are avoiding saying like the slurs, like I was saying. They're keeping it to like a certain level where they look around their community and they're saying like, well, I'm not doing anything like that polarizing. I'm kind of I'm riding the line a little bit more. And I think for Tana specifically, she was, I think, the youngest person I've made a video about. And I don't know, it was just, I guess she was also in, I think the worst part about it is going to her meetup, because she was in what would feel like a safe space. She's already putting herself out there at a meet and greet. I wouldn't even do meet and greets. She was doing a meet and greet, and I jump scared her, and who knows what my intentions were. She had no idea. No one there knew what my intentions were, and that's a scary situation to be in. That's horrible.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely valid. You're right. There is a fair situation to that, and that makes me think of, so Francesca Ramsey, who I have spoken with, she tells us a story about being terrified in the airport when she runs into one of your fans.
When I encountered one of his fans in the airport, I had to ask myself, am I going to exit this conversation and continue to have my life? You know what I mean? Like, my life could be in danger, right? Like, and so, again, that's why when there's all of these conversations about
what happened there. I guess without more details, that sounds like hyperbole, but I guess the person could have been super like fucking weird, Even iDubbbz has pointed out that his fans have been super fucking weird.
Don't call me a Karen, and don't call me white, and don't call me racist. It's like when those names are used, your feelings are hurt. But when someone calls me the N-word, I have to wonder, is this person going to try and kill me? Am I going to lose my life right now?
Who comes up there and says...
That's true. Obviously, like, racial slurs aren't just insults, anyone unhinged enough to just go up to a black woman and shout the N-word is indicating a level of emotional investment and political bias that goes beyond, like, heckling, that's valid. Did they run up and say the N-word, or was it just like a fan? I don't know.
I watch and I know you from iDubbbz videos and the fear she felt in not knowing what this person is for her. And I think why I asked the Tana question is this, and I think you're right to apologize to Tana. I don't think you're wrong to apologize to Tana. I think what I really want to unpack is the decision to apologize her exclusively, because if you watch a video as someone like me who didn't watch your content and who isn't familiar of the larger array, you would think that this is the only person, or maybe the way I read it was, okay, he's been in trouble for using this kind of language and racial slurs and all of this, but the only person he individualizes is a white woman. And he says, he apologizes maybe to the black community in large, and it would lead you to believe that no black person was individually picked on or targeted, and that's not the case. And I think what I find interesting is that even in apologizing for doing racist things, a white woman is who was apologized to, as though there weren't black people who were called the N-word. And I wonder, because that took me down a rabbit hole of watching, videos, and I saw a content cop you did on Jinx.
On camera. You don't get a break in the beginning. No resting. 100% 24/7 grind.
Damn, this nigga's on the grind. That shirt shouldn't say, it's about that time. It should say, it's about that grind. 4 videos a day, non-stop editing. I'm like an animator. I put so much work into my videos. I'm like sitting there keyframe after keyframe, trying to figure out how to put this fucking video on the corner of my screen. Grind, mad grind. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nothing but grind. I'm on the grind. My house, this ain't a normal house. It's a grind house.
You gotta eat, sleep, and shit, YouTube.
You gotta suck dick and shit, YouTube. Oh, this is so motivational. Holy shit. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna sit on my bed. I'm gonna sit on the end of my bed. I'm gonna set up the camera, and I'm gonna watch some fucking videos. Fuck editing. Fuck that shit. What am I, a faggot? Dude, you gonna edit your video? No, what do I look fucking gay?
And I wonder why a Jinx.
The comedy really is heightened by the fact that he looks like the platonic ideal of a white boy in those older videos. It's the stark contrast, I think, that really sells the dynamic.
wouldn't receive an apology, someone or what, because I think and I credit you for this in your apology, I actually did really like this, the part where you acknowledge I didn't feel comfortable in my own ability to be funny or my own ability and my own personality or whatever it is. And so
okay, wait, I just want to be clear so this doesn't undermine the point, okay? I think that a lot of iDubbbz stuff is both cringe and funny. I think it straddles a very unique line. The reason why I'm comfortable laughing here is because my community is like hardline left. And there are a bunch of different ways that you can interpret comedy like this. But there are a lot of people online who will literally just see, like, white guy said N-word, made fun of black man. Because a lot of people, this is why I hamper on, like, media critique so much. Because if a person doesn't understand what they're... And clearly, like, I think if we're even remotely charitable here, that video segment that we just watched, the point of it wasn't, haha, this guy's black. Like, that obviously wasn't the comedic thrust of the video. But a lot of people, like, that's what they'll pick up on and that's what they'll care about. So you're in this uncomfortable situation where, okay, the best example that you can get from this is if you have gay friends, they will make jokes about gay people that would be incredibly hateful if uttered by people who weren't gay. Like, there's some shit gay people will say to each other that sounds like it came right out of the mouth of, like, a Baptist minister. And if it came out of their mouth, that would be hate speech. But in the context of being with a group of friends where everyone knows, oh, we're all gay, we're all cool here, they make jokes that are obviously self-satirical, and the context changes massively. It's like how Boondocks, the Boondocks, is full of jokes making fun of black people, but it was written by black people for black people, so a lot of the comedy in that show is very clearly meant to be like a hyperbolic a take on the racial dynamic and the stereotypes that black people live under, and not just like white people laughing and saying, haha, black people, right? Likewise with gay people and with their culture and their community. It's really just a matter of like knowing your audience. Oh shit, Ryan's not gay? Okay, Ryan can't laugh at any of these jokes. Any jokes, any segments where I make gay jokes, you have to do the editing, Tempest. Is it okay to like the Boondocks as a white person? Well, yeah, you can like whatever you want. But it is worth pointing out, man, like, this is the shit that Chris Rock said, right? Like, Chris Rock would make the joke between N-words and N-words, right? That was Chris Rock? Or am I thinking of a Chappelle bit? That's Chris Rock, right? That was Chris Rock? Like, soft A, hard R, N-words. Like, he'd do a big bit. Oh, no, it was N-words and black people, is what he would say. Black people and N-words, right? And he stopped doing those bits because he felt like there were a lot of white people in the audience who were laughing for the wrong reason. But I guarantee you that when Chris Rock was like building that bit, like that you know, to tell in his stand-up, he was talking with black people. Like when he was trying out the black people and N-word bit, he was doing it with his friends, with the people he worked with, who I guarantee you were black. And then he goes and sees a white audience laughing, and he feels like there's a difference, you know? Like there's a difference in what's being laughed at and why. And that's why he dropped the bit. You understand what I mean? Yeah, Chappelle had a similar moment. Yeah, this consistently happens. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, so much of how quote-unquote problematic humor is interpreted and handled comes down to the audience and what the audience is primed to take from it. Okay.
On this, and I get that, and because on some level, on a human level, I understand things, but on a content creator, on a public figure level of making things, I understand what it is to have insecurities, and I respect. I think it's big to admit that. But on the other level, I think to myself, well, did you know that then, right? Are you aware now of this insecurity, or did you know it then? And if so, why is the same not grace shown to a person like Jinx when you decide to make a content cop about them? And, you know, basically what you're honing in on is saying is they're untalented or there isn't work that goes into their videos, right? Why isn't it sufficient enough to have your platform, right? You already have your platform that is in some way being boosted and made on this kind of bigoted content. That's one thing to exist in that space, but to not allow this other black creator to exist. And in the same way, you call black people themselves the N-word, but they aren't singled out in the apology. And I wonder why it is that that's the case. Love it.
They can't stand to see us, and this is not just exclusive to Black people, this is marginalized people, period. This is what you're seeing happening during Pride, right? This idea that if I think you are less than me, how dare you like yourself? How dare you be happy? How dare you be successful? When throughout history, I've been told that my whiteness and me doing the bare minimum is the standard.
Yes.
And now y'all taking my jobs, you taking my views, you out here taking my partners. Like you are living the life that I'm supposed to have.
Yes.
And I'm just minding my business.
Well, I think Jinx specifically, I think all of these creators, to varying degrees that I've made content cop videos on, I think they deserve their own apology in their own way. I think Jinx is definitely one of them. I think the type of content he was making, in the same way that I felt, I guess it wasn't necessarily that Jinx making reaction content, like nowadays that's like it's common.
What's your take? Should he have apologized to the Black guys? I don't know. You can't apologize to everyone. We've been doing stuff for years. Like, have a 6,000 person email list. She's just more curious, I guess, why the one named person would be a white woman, considering the context of a lot of the stuff that he's apologizing for. It's not a matter of what he should or shouldn't do. I'm just interested in what they're talking about.
Place, right? So, he, in a lot of ways, initiated that trend. And I think, the content I was making, it was just, it was cheap, I think, in kind of the same way that some people can view reaction content as cheap. So I think in a lot of ways I am guilty of what I was criticizing Jinx for. I was being very, just generally uncaring. And like I said, I was insecure about my ability to entertain. And I think, Jinx deserves his own apology. And I'm open to, personally talking to Jinx or, whatever he might be open to.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, I think I don't think it's that there's an aversion to forgiving you, right? Like if I think of myself as a proxy representative for the Black community right now, I don't think it's that anybody has the aversion to forgiving you. I think it's the recognition that it doesn't matter whether we do or don't. Because if we had the ability to cancel you, you wouldn't have been successful in the first place. Because Black people who have a problem with you now had a problem with you then. They were just being ignored. And so similarly, what I think is the thing that I really want to unpack is this. Is that you're allowed to apologize, whether or not you don't or you do come forward. And I appreciate the approach that you've taken and that you've chosen to on your own without a larger controversy be forced to. But the thing is, what I noticed when I went down the deep dive is most of the Black people that you did single out are no longer making YouTube videos. They're no longer content creating in one way or the next. They've in some way been run off the platform or been terrified through years of harassment. Francesca was harassed so much that it's a part of her Wikipedia page is that she's went through a series of harassment. And I think that's what's notable to me, because I watched Tana's response to your apology, and she talks about how she also respected it and how she would be open to a world where she talked to you, and how she herself has been canceled and her different pivots. And I think that is the thing that really is the ire of the community, and seeing that is that you have the ability to make a platform on bigoted content, attack a black content creators doing similar things, or basically target them as not.
Vosh, I generally agree with the sentiment with the video, but there's a part of me that this interview and video structure feels like self-flagellation. Like, she takes up a lot of the time with clips, and I feel like keep in mind that like iDubbbz apparently feels like genuinely quite upset like about the stuff that he's done or said. Obviously, it's not how I would handle myself if I had like a big political pivot or some kind of shift in my thinking. Honestly, I probably just wouldn't apologize. I just don't care. I've just never valued apologies that much. You do the best you can, do good things, and if you do bad things, you get roasted. You get raked over the coals for it. I don't value apologies that much, interpersonally and socially, because I don't know how much they actually have to do with doing wrong. Vosh can't do wrong. No. You're misunderstanding. You can do wrong and then say it was wrong and then not apologize. You can if you want. I'm not saying it's wrong to apologize. If you want to apologize to people interpersonally, you can. But I don't think it should be the focus of a political shift. I'm more concerned with building incentive structures that make people want to be a part of the left, make them want to be what I am, or what iDubbbz is becoming, or what he wants to be, or whatever. And if people want to apologize, that's totally fine. It's not wrong to. It's more, I just don't want people to think that this process has to involve a lot of, you know, self-denigration, a lot of, here are all the steps I have to take, a lot of, like, all that crap, you know. I think it should be easy. I think we should be, always very willing and ready to celebrate these kind of movements. And by the way, she's not, like, being bad to him or anything. Some people in chat, you know, I'm just talking about the general process. I think the question she's asking is valid. I just don't, she's not, I don't think she's being unfair in the convo.
Not talented or not this or whatever it is, and essentially run them off the platform. But white content creators, even the ones guilty of doing those things, are able to pivot. And I think that's the thing that worries people, and like something I've been mulling over and how to go about this, because sometimes you worry that, well, if I say it's okay or if you forgive people, then it incentivizes other people to do the same. Like, what is to say there aren't going to be, because there is, it happens all the time, of people saying, I want to do something and I don't think I have the talent to do it. I don't think I have this. So let me make my platform on punching down, and I will be able to at a later date say sorry and move on.
I think that's an extremely valid fear, and I think that's kind of what...
See, that's a disagreement I have. I don't. I genuinely don't think that, like, this is a thing anyone thinks. I don't think anyone thinks, like, I can spend years being edgy, so then I can shift over to the extremely lucrative market of, like, online leftists, you know? It's not like there's a huge incentive to shift left from a monetary perspective. Also, right now, iDubbbz is getting torn apart by his own community because they don't like that he's, like, cucked himself out to the left or whatever. Even this video is 50-50 on the likes and dislikes. I really don't think that, like, there's a threat of people profiting from, like, the grift over to the left. To the right, yes. But notably, even when people grift over to the right loves it. They don't care if it's sincere, so...
From what I heard from Francesca, that's really frustrating, and I don't think it's fair. I think, you know, it's good for people to change, obviously. I think the level that, like, I would say the response that I've gotten anywhere from, you know, one end of the spectrum where, like, commentary channels are saying, like, I don't think he has any reason to apologize, to, like, maybe Francesca Ramsey at the other end saying, like, this isn't, like, even close to being enough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, you know, Black creators and Black people in general have had to deal with the environment that, you know, me and, you know, other creators have made. And so, like, I think that entire range of reaction is appropriate.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for me, it's sort of expected, right? Because I think a lot of the people who say that I shouldn't have apologized or something like that, they are so far from, like, arriving to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I totally get Francesca's feelings of, like, you can't, like, undo 5-10 years of harassment that I've received. Like,
yeah.
So I get it. I wish, I mean, all I can think of, you know, at this point is to communicate my headspace and, like, where I was at the time and how I came to terms with, like, understanding, like, my role and responsibility in our community, and just, like, communicate to that to people, because that's as close as I can get to, like, undoing things or, like, fixing things.
Yeah. And how did you, like, when you made the final decision that you were going to make the video, like, that this is it, like, what happened there?
I think there's been a lot of things. I think, number one, I think, like, doing this whole Creator Clash thing has opened my eyes to it in a big way. I think I've had to interact with, you know, boxing is a community that has a lot of marginalized people in it. You know, there are a lot of Black people in boxing, Mexicans. I mean, it is super popular around the world. And
my dad loves boxing.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to, you know, interact with different people than the usual, like, you know, small bubble of, like, commentary YouTubers on YouTube. Like, that's very small. They're coming from, like, the same world that I come from, and it just makes my confidence in a lot of these, like, ideas that I've developed over the years be, like, less and less confident in them, because it's like, oh, holy shit, like, these are real people, and they're as fucking, you know, compassionate, and I don't know. It's just
I get it. I mean, I went to boarding school in West Virginia, and I was the only black girl in my senior class. So I have been people's first, many a white person's first introduction to a black person that in any way departed from a caricature or a stereotype they had in their mind. And I think, listen, I actually think you're in a better position than most if you think about it, because you're not the only white person. There are tons of white people, even the ones I'm sure condemning you, guilty of similar behavior, or at the very least being complicit on the spectrum of racism. So you're not alone. You're in a country full of company, right? So that's not.
Yeah.
So in that respect, very often I think when we talk about racism, all kind of white people, if they were able to, if there were video logs of their platform or how they've lived their life, I'm sure they have a community of black people who would be upset or who they've wronged or they've fostered attitudes and things too. But they don't have the benefit, I think, in your case. You actually do have the benefit of knowing who and what. Like, you can't contain, once you spread like toxicity, you can't spread what your audience does. You can only try to course correct, and I respect that you are doing that, right? So you can't do anything about whatever black people were on the receiving end of, who your audience members or those things. But you do know which individual black people, that you made content cops about or that you singled out, and what those videos made in revenue. You have the ability to look at these things, and I think you do have a way to definitively, concretely do some things. And especially when we tie it back to you earlier saying, you have no black friends. And listen, even if you didn't tell me that, I knew that. I went to Create a Clash. So I knew. But I think there is a way to change that. You know what I mean? If you're a person, if you have the benefit, whether we like it or not, of I can't crush your platform, nobody else can either. You're gonna have one. You're gonna still have this audience. So if you have the benefit, your white privilege is that you have the ability to maintain your platform and continue to grow. I think a way that you step forward, a way you atone that, is to change the lack of the way the black.
I don't like this personally. Advice, get black friends, is just not, because it's like the incentive then is like, oh, time for me to find a black friend so that I can orient my shift in in my political perspective and my humanization of black people around like an interpersonal friendship. Yeah, it's like a token thing. I think that has to be like a hands-off topic, whether a person does or doesn't have black friends or whatever. Like if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. I don't think like advice, like prerequisites, like The Sims, like prerequisite for like lefty growth, like have black friends. Yeah, I don't like that. Then again, she's saying it pretty casually here. I wish there were more questions that had to do with what he wants, more so than what he has to do. I think you can learn a lot more about a person by asking them what they want than by seeing their reactions to being told what they have to do. Okay, but isn't it a little weird when someone doesn't have black friends in a city that has a bunch of them? I mean, I guess it depends really on, like, the age they are and, like, social situation and stuff. If you go to, like, a preppy private school and there's, like, no black people there, I guess, I mean, it's a roll of the dice kind of thing, Like, again, I grew up in Beverly Hills. I did have black friends growing up, but both of them were kind of unlikely. There was, like, one black kid my age who was on my street who moved. I think his father played football, if I remember. And we hung out for a while as, like, neighborhood friends. And then my first partner was black Brazilian. But that was, like, a total lark, Like, that was not a likely... That was not likely to have happened. If it wasn't for those two things, I probably wouldn't have had black friends until college. Not for lack of trying, it's just I mostly got into, like, the gaming scene. And, if there weren't a lot of black kids that were playing games in my, like, middle school, it's what it is. I don't think people should actively, like, seek out friends of a given race, necessarily. Obviously, I think it's good when people have a diverse friend group. It's just, I don't know if it's something you can consciously do to good outcomes. You know what I mean? Maybe in some circumstances you could. I don't really know. That doesn't sound right. Every black person I know games as if it was water. In the fighting game community, there's the game communities that I've noticed have a lot of people of color are like fighting games, sports games, shooters, that kind of stuff. I played StarCraft, so not so much. You know, I mean, there were plenty of minorities in StarCraft, but they're not black, they're Korean. Maybe friendship is the wrong word, but prolonged exposure helped, doesn't it? Yeah, being around a wide range of people just makes you a smarter and better person. That's good. I just, you know, I just worry about the mentality of somebody who would be going after someone specifically, like, oh, you know, like, oh, they're cool and they're black, so like then I'd have a black friend, you know. Yeah. It's not exposure therapy, right? It's just you hang out in the communities you hang out with, and, you know, it is what it is. Correct biases if you identify them in yourselves, but, you know. Oh, well.
People's platforms that you brought down, bring some black people's platforms up. You know what I mean? And listen, in some respect, I will consider your presence here, you taking the step in to getting on the black side of the internet. But I do think that is a way you can concretely do something. Like, take a look at the privated videos or whatever videos it is.
Oh, by the way, if you're trying to keep a white boy from saying the N-word, do not make them have black friends. There is nothing black people like more than to chant like fucking, say it, white boy, say it, white boy. Like, they love that shit more than anything else. They like seriously, the worst possible advice you can give a white boy with regards to not saying the N-word. Yeah, Samuel Jackson times. Yeah, I agree. Introspection is good, Senator Armstrong.
Where you targeted whatever content creators and look and see how much did that make, or what was this, and like sit down and try to like piece by piece, what can we do about this? How can we reach out to these folk? And I think that can make that shows some kind of material step, you know, like, you know what, I acknowledging that it's not just that you built your platform off of, you know, some bigoted content, because that's not innately the problem. It's that you also destroyed black platforms. And so I think that's where a good place for you to kind of move forward. And that was an idea I wanted to bring to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's a good idea. And yeah, I'm going to take your advice on that. I think I was going to go on Tana's podcast.
Yeah.
What is your, I guess, I'm curious what your thoughts on doing that would be.
I think you can do that. I don't think that there is a problem with you doing that, especially if that's somebody you singled out and you did do something there. And like I said, I don't think you're wrong to apologize to or acknowledge a dangerous element or that. I don't think that will warm the hearts of the communities, the particular marginalized communities they feel impacted by, because I think they're still going to feel like the narrative will still be that a white woman was centered in all of this, and that ultimately you're apologizing for saying a racial slur, a black racial slur to a white lady. So I don't think you're wrong to do it. I think you can do multiple things in the same way that you could sit down and talk to me. I think you can sit down and talk to Tana. So I think that's fine. I don't think you have to take that out of your.
I just don't think he has to do anything. I don't think he has to do anything, you know? If he moves over, he moves over. But we're not really evaluating his interpersonal relationships with previous people that he's wronged. He wants to? Well, if he wanted to, he would just do it. I feel like moving on is sometimes the best. I just worry about like this infinitely granular attitude towards rehabilitation, where it's like, okay, well, you've done the first 50 things, but have you done this next 50? I'm not saying that she's doing that here. It's just I worry about that trend, mostly because of how nebulous this, like, well, what do you need to do thing is, like where that stops or where that point really ends. And I don't know what the threshold should be, you know? I guess I'm always going to be more cynical on stuff like this because my impression of online leftists is that they don't believe in rehabilitation. That in reality, they're actually just as petty and spiteful and vindictive as any other group against people they don't like. They're just better at systemically justifying why they don't like them, you know? Which isn't necessarily good. Bosh, you should make it clear you don't think she's being crazy unreasonable here. No, I don't think she's being crazy unreasonable. I think people in chat are being way the fuck too defensive. Why are you guys being defensive? Are you guys the ones who are the most, like, hated person on all of LeftTube? I'm sorry, am I unaware of the, like, rampant surge in popularity of 60 separate people in my chat who are all themselves the subject of massive concurrent hate campaigns the way that I am? No, it's just me. So, you know, with that in mind, I don't think she's being weird.
But I think the same way you've made these are bold steps. Like I said, I want to give credit to that. Most people are not sitting down with me, okay? People are scared about me on a regular, even in court, okay? So I think it's just about you.
Is this why so many black lefties don't like you? Because you refuse to participate in the process? I don't think I have a problem. Like, I don't think there's a problem with black lefties. It's just online lefties. The people who give me shit overwhelmingly are white people, because most people in the online left are white people. I don't really think there's like a big... I don't really think there's like a big disproportionate skew there. I don't know what their process means either. I don't know what's going on with you guys.
Say it now. Hey, maybe let me see how I reach out to a Jinx, or at the very least, even if you, because a lot of these people may not be receptive to talking to you. I know Francesca don't care to speak to you or anything like that, but I think there's a way that you can change a narrative. Like what I saw a lot when I was watching, there was a video, that's why I figured I watched a whole video on the end of Jinx's career, right? And that begins with Content Cop is the beginning of the end for Jinx. And even because of an audience, we know this, being on Twitter, the popular opinion is who's got the biggest audience, right? Or who's the winner, or who's still standing. And so because you're the one that's still standing and Jinx has been run off the platform, the audience's perspective is like, he was stupid, he was prideful, he should have. I'm like, yeah, he's calling him every kind of N-word and you're mad at the man because he's upset. I think there's a way that we can speak up for people, that you could say, hey, you know what? I actually was wrong, you know what I mean? Or that wasn't, that's not the right perspective to have on that, because so much public perception changes whether or not we're able to succeed. And changing the public perception on Jinx is what killed him. So I think there's also a way that you can just kind of walk back some of these things and maybe recognize the humanity that you didn't recognize in them then, recognize it now. Because think about if you felt the way you felt and all the things that you're going to do, but your platform was gone. Yeah. So I think that's a way, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't know to the extent, like how much of this footage you plan on using for your video, but yeah. I did find out a couple months ago that Jinx has me blocked on Twitter. So if Jinx does come across this video, I'll see if there's an email or something, but let it be known I'm down to speak with you and even do it.
iDubbbz did everything right and they canceled him and they indicted me. Sorry. It was the perfect N-word. Sorry.
All publicly, or whatever he'd like.
And I love that. Listen, I love that. The defense attorney in my heart. When I stumbled on the Jinx thing, I was like, listen, I'm years behind. I didn't know nothing about Jinx in 2015 of all of this, but I was like, he does not know it wherever he is in the world, but justice for Jinx. I was like, so I'm glad, and I'm really glad that you sat down with me. Is there anything in particular? I want to make sure that you're able to like say whatever you say, because I think this is the closest you're gonna get to talking directly to Cornbread Tube. So, you don't know Cornbread Tube? Have you never heard that?
No, I haven't. I was like, what is that?
Oh, Brad Tube is the video essayist space, right? The general video essays, and Cornbread Tube is the black video essayist space.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard of Cornbread Tube. That's funny. I like that.
Yes, you get it. So if there's anything you wanted to say to them directly, please, this is your moment.
I mean, maybe I'd have more to say if I was like familiar, but is there like more? Is there any like?
That's where everybody is. All of the Cap Blacks, or that's where.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's our side of it.
I guess I'll just say, like, out of the, I've watched, I tend to want to stay away from a lot of the reaction videos to, like, my apology and stuff, because mentally it's just tough to deal with. Yeah. But there have been a few that I've watched fully, and Cat Black is one of the videos that I watched, and
oh no.
I mean, I would say out of any of the reactions to watch, in my opinion, it would be Cat Black's response, because she definitely comes from, obviously a perspective of,
we're looking down the barrel of a timeline where in 2024 iDubbbz cancels me on Twitter for my reactionary politics. Do you think the Cat Black video has like a 20-minute interlude in the middle where she talks about how she doesn't care about my penis?
Being someone this apology might be appropriate for, and she essentially says like, hey, I'm probably not gonna watch I'm not like an iDubbbz fan or anything. I'm probably not going to watch any of his videos going forward, but I at least feel a little bit more safe if he's like at a convention or we pass by each other or whatever. Like I'm not going to immediately dismiss him as like the racist guy or whatever. And that's, to be honest, like all I'm, all I could ask for in that case.
Good. Well, I appreciate that I really appreciate that you sat down. I appreciate the willingness to own it, because like I said, it's just true. It's not just true about you. Like, I have my own white friends. We know. We can call him up, be like, "Ooh, Mark, that was racist." He'd be like, "Oh, my fault." And you course correct. The only way that you can fix a problem is if you acknowledge it exists. We all have biases and prejudices, and I can't rake you over the coals for what's been done. But what I wanted to do was maybe explain to you, I was like, you know what, if I seem to have a path or an ability to talk to him, let me give you some of my thoughts, and maybe that helps you better understand where the community comes from, and maybe other people listening to it and watching it that are open to that can get it too, and we can maybe do something better about how we deal with these pivots, these apologies.
I super appreciate it. I think the you bringing up Jinx and other Black creators that have been affected, I think is very appropriate, and I think you're right. I think he was, I think, the first person I did a Content Cop video on, and it's been a long time since then, and you're right. Like a lot of these, I'm thinking about like Keemstar and even Rice Gum. Like all of these guys have like, been kind of continued to like push on because they are, I don't know, they're like cockroaches of YouTube. They just continue to like.
Please don't apologize to Rice Gum for any reason.
Make content, whether it be drama or anything else. So I think it's easy to forget those who disappear off the internet, and generally.
I'm gonna make an apology video to Leafy because it was ableist to point out his chin, and his intelligence, and his behavior.
Neglected. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And also, if you if you ever need to get a white guy's perspective on who has definitely like been there. I'm always available.
Thank you so much, Ian. I'm glad this went well. I believe it or not, I was a little bit nervous.
Hey. I mean, I'm trying. I was nervous too.
Good, I'm glad. Raheem hasn't made.
They're both very cute together. I enjoyed watching this video a lot. I'm kind of curious to see how things go. Fuck. I wonder how hard it would be to talk to iDubbbz. He doesn't follow me on Twitter, which makes me think that he might not like me. I'm well known enough that he would follow me if he wanted to. He's streaming right now, but he's playing WoW. It's been a while since we just jumped into somebody's chat and asked if they're down to chat. I think he's playing with somebody, though. Oh, wait.
Wait, is Anissa French-Canadian?
I'm not French-Canadian.
Yeah, that's someone else.
Yeah, I'm from the West.
He's playing with his wife. Oh, that's his wife? I'm not gonna bother a guy when he's talking to his wife.
Thank God.
Kind of sicko shit would that be?
I was watching this TikTok of this woman who was like, "French Canadians, are you okay?" Like,
they're not. I guess we'll have to bother him in the future. I'll still raid him though. All right. Okay, folks. I feel like we've looked at a lot of stuff considering the fact that I fell asleep at like 8 a.m. or whatever. Keffels rated him the other day and got a shout out. Well, you know what? I'm going to end stream and I'm going to rate him. That's what we're going to do. Don't be weird in this chat. If I find out any of you are weird in this chat, it's going to be a problem, okay? You understand? I'm going to hit the add button one more time and oh wait. Super chats. That's right. Cuz I can finish the site donos next stream, but super chats. Anna, thank you for the €5. Yes, thank you for sending the email. I'm sorry I couldn't watch more. And thank you for the fitness inspo. Joe Armu, thank you for the $2. Nondescript, thank you for the $5. Maybe. Randy, thank you for the $10. Hey Vosh, dogfighting has become a real problem in cities. Do you have any opinions and solutions? Keep the good work. I'm afraid I don't know anything about the industry of dogfighting, so I can't really say. I think it's bad, though. Thomas Constantine Moore, thank you for the insanely kind $50. I really, really appreciate that. Not even a dono message either. My goodness. Oh no, thank you for the $5. Ryan Nowicki, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. I think they'll roll over, Ryan. And Nick JK, thank you for the $2. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to send you guys over. Oh, you guys are already in there saying Voosh Raid.
Lady, I don't know.
I'm going to preemptively block the, like, API from my,
French Canadian, I can confirm.
All right.
I feel
Go on over there,
bad,
guys.
Because
I believe in
there's a lot
you.
of people from like
Don't be
Quebec
weird.
that are like fine, but the really intense like Quebecois
Go.
are